YouTube. It's been a long off season. Football season starts in a couple of days. Look, guys, I'm RicoKnows if you don't know who I am, and I understand my kitchen is behind me. Usually we have the banners up. Usually we have the studio going, but we're in construction this season. So it's going to look like some random dude talking football from his kitchen. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of new faces and people going, who the hell is this guy, and why does what he says matter? Well, it matters because I tend to get things right. Right? Everything I do on my platform is about accuracy. If you're a TikTok follower, you think it's all shock and awe. You think it's rage bait videos. But if you're an MVP, if you follow the YouTube or you follow the Patreon and you become a member, you understand that what I give are legitimate gems. I give information that no one would give anywhere else in the sports world. And the reason for that is I'm unfiltered, I'm authentic, but I also look where others don't have time to look, where others just don't want to look. Okay, full disclosure, I study 134 FBS teams. I kid you not, just yesterday, I was asking where a defensive tackle from ULM is, because there are two guys on the ULM depth chart that aren't on the school website, and they make a big difference when I'm predicting ULM outcomes. If you didn't know, I'm a capper. I pick games against the spread. Last year, over 400 games, and we get it right more than you'll ever imagine. Every statistical result is in 4K. It's there on the website for you to see it and for you to go, oh my God, this guy is a fortune teller. This guy's telling the truth. This guy can see shit happening before it happens. That's what I do. So with this particular case, the way it starts is the off season, guys. In the off season, football fans, you know, the word fan, I always talk about this. It's derived from the word fanatic. These kids sit around all day and they just study their own team. Or they go to Twitter and they look at PFF, Pro Football Focus. They go look at On3 and a number of these recruiting-based websites, ESPN, the Talking Heads, and they let these websites subconsciously or very deliberately mold and shape their view on the upcoming football season, on all the teams. There's a reason they get on TV and start talking, and it's because these channels and these websites are affiliated with certain conferences. Okay? I want you to understand that I have no agenda. I'm not affiliated with any conference. My only agenda is accuracy and making the MVPs money. Now, you might hear that term MVPs, and you don't know what that is. Those are my premium members. Shout out to them. They know who they are. They're going to be in the chat. They're going to be here all the time. And if you ever hear some troll on the internet, somebody going, oh, don't listen to RicoKnows. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's the worst person ever. He just misses all the time. Anybody talking like that, just ask him, hey, are you an MVP? Ask him, hey, Rico's got MVPs on platforms, thousands of them. Are you one of them? And the answer is always going to be no. The guy will claim, oh, you'll see it. Oh, I was an MVP once. And we can just do a quick fact check. Just drop your name and email, bro. We'll check the roster. We have everything. We keep track of everything. This is a business. I have taxes. But I know who's paying for what and who's been a member and who hasn't. And I can tell you that MVPs are making a killing. We're not missing. Last night we made a killing. Shout out to the PFL. Just decided to watch PFL fights on a whim last night. Got all 4 of my picks correct. We went chalk, parlayed it all together, sitting at a solid plus 100 something and doubled a unit in the middle of the night. Had MVPs ordering takeout in the middle of the night. Congratulations to them. But let's stay focused on this video and the top 25. Okay? So I do a preseason top 25. But I don't just do a preseason top 25. What you guys need to understand is, and excuse me, I'm the only one running graphics over here. Sometimes things go wrong. What people don't understand is coaches only study their conference and who's on their schedule. Coaches don't necessarily know all the teams in America. And as a matter of fact, they have recruiting staffs that help whittle it down. They don't really know every single team in America. That's number one. Number two, they are biased. They have affiliations and coaching trees with one another. So their voting is going to be absolutely grotesque. And then you have the AP poll. The preseason AP poll is derived of a bunch of media members from the Associated Press who are regional. They are regionally loyal. And I want to tell you, these AP poll voters, they're all alumni from somewhere. They're all alumni from somewhere. When I was a sports writer in the early 2000s, I was a sports writer at the Desert Sun. Shout out to them, Gannett News Service in Southern California. I was a sports writer, and I can remember I was gathering information, and we had these other employees. And shout out to one of the other writers. He was a senior writer, a copy editor, and his name was Rick Taylor. Shout out to Rick Taylor. Huge guy, 6'5", maybe, I don't know, maybe he was 40 years old at the time. Rick Taylor was an enormous dude, and he came from Midland, Lee, Texas. He came from, a part of Texas where he was convinced Texas high school football is the greatest thing he's ever seen. There was no getting him off it. He just showed up. Cedric Benson had just dominated the high school scene. And he's lecturing me on all these great players from Texas. So we go out to go watch Long Beach Poly, Maurice Jones-Drew, from De La Salle, playing against Long Beach Poly. And we go out and see all these amazing players in Southern California. And this is just after Deshaun Foster and Carson Palmer. But this is definitely the height of Reggie Bush and those types of guys, Tyler Ebell and Lorenzo Booker. And we're watching all these great high school players. And he's just going, nah, they're not as good as our guys. They're not as good as our guys. They're not as good as Texas. And he couldn't get off it. And you want me to believe that there are AP writers out there that can vote against their alma mater. You ever seen the schools getting votes? You ever seen how they're doing it? They're doing it wrong, guys. They're biased. And they're just spewing their agenda every day, all day. And they don't have a clue in the world what they're doing. Now, me, having a background of being an athlete, an analyst, a capper, a sports writer, I think I check every box. I was a son of a coach. I am a coach. I did play football my entire life until I joined the Army. But I have a gift, and my gift is to assess talent. If you don't believe me, go watch the high school film reviews. I can just look at a player and say, oh, that guy's FBS, FCS, Group of 5, Power 5, Division 2. I'll even give him a conference to go talk to. It's what I do, and I'm very accurate with it. But when I look at college players, I do the same thing for the NFL draft. I can identify players and say, hey, that guy's not good enough to make it. That guy's not better than people in the NFL. And NFL draft scouts, these guys that you guys anoint and you guys believe in, they all get fired. they have a short-lived career. They haven't been doing this for 20-something years. They get fired. So the dude you think is an expert has only been doing this for a couple of years. And he's trying to work his way up to GM someday. And GMs get fired. And these guys, half their draft picks don't make it. And I bring all this up because it's about assessing talent, assessing coaches, and trying to identify that apex, like where they cross. I'm going to give you an example. On this top 25, before I go through it, you're going to see number 11 is Kentucky. And people are going to gasp when they see that. Kentucky, they've never been great. Their defense sucks. They don't know what they're doing. And it's like, yeah, I know, man. I know. I know the narrative. I understand what you're saying. But when I assess Kentucky on tape, I see NFL football players. And the more pros you have, the better you are. And you have to ask yourself, who predicted TCU would be in the national title game? Or who predicted Washington would be in the national title game? Nobody. I predicted Michigan. Michigan was my number one team in the preseason poll last year. I knew Michigan was the best team in America. You know how much hate I got from Georgia fans, from Alabama fans, from Ohio State fans? When I put Michigan number one, I just looked at you and I just said, guys, I watch tape on every single player. I assess talent. And look, man, this isn't what I don't go to the top. This is what's crazy, is the way I get my chart and the way I do my rankings is I do not start writing and go, okay, number one's Georgia, number two's, I don't do that. That's not how I do my chart. No, I assess all 134 teams. and I give a rating based upon each specific position group because I'm assessing talent. And then there's a weighted scale of each position group and how they impact the results of games or impact your overall ability. I'm going to give you an example. You can have a 10 at tight end. You can have an all-American tight end. That doesn't really mean anything to me unless you have a quarterback that can get him the ball. All right? So having an amazing quarterback is probably very advantageous to how I assess your team. Having a great quarterback is probably more valuable than some of the other things. So let's just say that right now. Okay. But I'll show you guys something. This list isn't just arbitrary. This list isn't just Rico threw some shit on the wall. Here's something that's privy to my MVPs, and I'll pull it up in the chart. I'll show it to you this one time. I reference this throughout the season on all the podcasts. I will be showing it nonstop all season long. Let me get it to fit the screen here. And as one hater said online, he said, "Hey, that guy Rico, he's just a fan with a spreadsheet." And I want to remind you guys that this fan with a spreadsheet turned his idea and his assessment into a $500,000 business. Like, that's the reality of the situation, bro. We're over here living the best life that you could never dream of. I didn't say that you could dream, but you could never dream of this. So that being said, I've assessed every single position group, whether it be quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen. They got a total here. Okay. Then I went ahead and did defensive tackles, defensive ends, linebackers, corners, safeties, and they get a total. Now, there's a weighted system. There's a formula in here. You can see it. I do a bunch of different formulas, and then at the end of the day, and that's all this crap up here, and then I weight and value things differently, and you get these results. The reality is, though, is I didn't just do this for 25 teams. I did this for everybody. And what's important about this is what you're looking at here is it looks like gibberish right now because I don't have it sorted correctly in this showing. Okay? This is just sorted by overall right here. This is your top 25, but it's really top 134. I adjusted every single week. I changed numbers here and there based upon results, injuries, assessments, coaching impact. Like, a lot of this you have to sit back and say, all right, how good is the coach and what does he do with his talent? We know Iowa has decent players, but their offensive scheme for 2 years has been gross, right? For multiple years. But I'll give you an example. Here's Boise State at 74. They have one of the best running games in America. And I know they're going to run the ball. Shout out to Genty. But when I look at the rest of their position groups, it doesn't excite me. And that's what people need to understand is why is Boise State so low? They're the best group of 5 team. And I'm like, not really. Not when I look at them collectively compared to everybody else. This is being graded on a curve. So instead of going through this whole chart, which is what I'm going to do for defense on, if you don't know, tomorrow, I'm doing a podcast on just the defense. And you see the defense over here and how I have them rated. And yes, I know Kentucky's number 2. And I'll be ready to explain why. But if you go through and you look at everybody on defense, I've done an assessment of every single team. Every single team. And this is why my rankings tend to be more accurate than everybody else's. Is because I actually take the time to go and assess the teams. Now, if you watch the podcast on offense, I did a podcast on the offense, how long ago? It was probably a month ago. Maybe 2 months ago. I don't remember. The MVPs know. You guys can see it. If you go to YouTube, click on the live tab. Don't click on videos. Click on the live tab on the homepage. You'll see the offensive podcast. And I talked about every single offense in America. It's 3.5 hours long. I'm going to do the same thing for defense tomorrow. And I talk about, a handful of players on every single team. So for this episode here, we're going to discuss the top 25. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. And I'm going to try to explain to you why I have my top 25 the way I do. First and foremost, shout out to Georgia. They are number 1. That's just a clear assessment of their talent. But if we can go to best of the rest first. Best of the rest is actually in order by where I see these teams. So West Virginia is 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. You get it? So everybody's in order but where I see them. And the reason I went all the way down to Nebraska is I wanted to make sure Memphis got on the list. And it's relevant because Memphis, for me, is the very best group of 5 team in America. Now, does that mean I think they're making the playoffs? Not necessarily. They have a daunting schedule. They play Florida State, who I assess to be better than them. Okay? They play in the American. They're going to have tough games. South Florida, Tulane. Okay? But I do respect Memphis, and I've been on the Memphis, what's the word? I don't want to say bandwagon, because the reality is I assessed Memphis better than everybody for a long time. There's a video of me talking about Memphis going to the playoffs very early in the offseason. I'm talking January. And now it's become the in thing. Like Vegas went out and became an MVP and watched all my videos, and now they're like, all right, they're talking about Memphis. But if you sing Memphis praises, I would love for you to start naming Memphis players that are great. I would love for people to start saying Seth Hennigan and Rock Taylor and Demir Blumkensee, and like Mario Anderson Jr. just got in the transfer portal, showed up. They rebuilt their offensive line. I would love for people to really know who the players are. They don't. What they're doing is they're parroting what they see online. So they're just puppets. They're just parrots. They don't actually know these teams. They just talk. When someone like me, I can tell you every single player, and I can go all the way back to Sutton. I can go like 3rd, 4th string on all these teams in every position group, because I literally, if you watch me on TikTok Live, I study this 20 hours a day, 18 to 20 hours a day. I'm on live grinding, and you'll see someone in the chat like, why don't you interact with us? Why don't you talk to us? I am busy making sure I'm right for the football season. That's the reality. You want to know why we won our bowl games against the spread? Every single bowl game and championship game, I want to say the results, and I don't want to pull up anything on the screen right now that I can't. Let me double. I don't know where it's going to pop up if I click on it. Let me do this. I got a better idea. Give me 1 second. I want to show you guys something. Let me do this. Thank God I did that. That's funny. It would have showed up on the screen. You guys would have seen everything. But let me go back here. Give me a second. Clicking away on a Friday night. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So if anybody wanted to know why these rankings and my assessment of rosters really matters, I'm going to tell you it pays dividends during the college football season. We get everything right during the week. Weekends were tough. We did have to refine some of our strategy, but one thing I wanted to show you guys is how well I did in my picks before Vegas got themselves together against the spread, 22-4 in week 1. That's just Vegas not knowing what they're doing, and I know the team's better than Vegas. That's reality. But they end up fixing themselves, and we have to keep adjusting. But where it really matters is down here. You see this championship and week and bowl games? During the bowl season, all these teams lost all their starters, opt-outs, transfer portal. And I still know the teams because I know they're 2 and 3 deep. I know them well enough to get it right. And we went out against the spread, and we got 31 and 16. So 31 out of 45 to 47 games correct. That's insane. And we didn't include, and we're going to include it this year, the prop bets knocked it out the park. Prop bets knocked it out the park. I can tell you who's going to get an over, who's going to get an under, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, who's playing, who's not. I'm in there telling you the 3rd string running back at Georgia State is Freddie Brock, and he's about to go for 100 yards. And he went for 200. I'm that guy. So when you try to tell me, Rico, you got your rankings wrong, it's like, nah, you just don't know the other teams. You know your team really well. You want to debate for your team. I had one gentleman just write me on Twitter before I started this. He said, if Utah isn't in the top 13, we riot. Something like that. And I'm like, well, get your gear, bro. Get your gear. You're going to riot. So looking at the list, I love Memphis. I have a lot of respect for them. I hope they work it out. Nebraska, great defense, supposedly, and they're going to be out there with the freshman quarterback. I don't value it all that much. Is Gabe Irvin healthy to be the star running back? I don't know. But Nebraska's theory is Matt Rule's going to be better. Their defense is going to get better, so they're here. I'm all in on Indiana. I believe in Kurt Zignetti and everything he's doing. I've talked to my MVPs about this. I am very high on Indiana. I understand they play in the Big Ten. But talent-wise, what I see on that team, when I assess them, and what I see, if I go over here and I pull it up, they're literally a better version of Colorado without Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. So that's why they're behind them just slightly. But when I think I have the wrong rankings up. Give me a second here. No, I don't. I'm tripping. There we go. Indiana. Love the defensive line. I love some of the secondary, a little undersized, but ballers. Absolute ballers. And then on the offensive side of the ball, that's a wide receiver room worth talking about. Indiana's wide receiver room is worth talking about. If Rourke can be healthy and get it to them, they'll be real. I like Indiana a lot. And where this matters is not like wins, bro. Where this matters is the spread. Vegas might disrespect Indiana, and I have a lot of respect for them. Vegas might have it wrong on an over and under. Right? I think they opened the season against FAU. Or no, that's Michigan State. Who do they open the season against? I'll pull up the schedule, but the point is that's why we do our daily podcast, and I'll tell you guys, oh no, they're only 20-point favorites. They're gonna put up 40. That's kind of what I do here. Next on the list is Colorado. I know a lot of people are high on Colorado. I'm not. Colorado's defensive line is their defensive tackles are not very good. Their defensive edge, their edge rushers look very improved and look good. But when I assess them on tape and their matchups in the Big 12, it's gonna be very difficult for them to stop the run. Very difficult for them to stop the run. So you're talking about a passing attack that's gonna need to score every time. And if they're ever behind, good luck, man. I really don't like it. I don't like their offensive line at all. I know you think it's improved, but it's improved with – they brought in 4 or 5 transfers, and they're not even all starting. They realized, oh, my God, they're assessing offensive line talent incorrectly, is just how I'll put it. They're just assessing people wrong. They're getting players to show up, and they're not good enough to beat the guys that are already there. And the guys that are already there aren't good enough to play at the FBS level or the Power 4 level. So I think Colorado's in for a rude awakening this season. But they're there. Minnesota, love everything about them. They're improved immensely. They do play in the Big Ten and stuff. But great wide receiver room that just had a huge upgrade. Great quarterback. Brosmer coming in. Running back room is one of the best in America. So I love Minnesota a lot. TCU. Let me tell you how surprised I was about TCU. First off, shout out to TCU. I love their defense in the sense that their linebackers are real. Their safeties are leaders. And I'm talking about Clark and them. But I had no idea TCU's offensive line was going to be this good. I started assessing their offensive line. TCU's offensive line is actually built from the transfer portal, and it looks pretty decent. The wide receiver room's stout, and we know they always have a good running back. Now, can Hoover get it together? We'll see, but I have a lot of respect for TCU. Louisville, I know you guys are really high on Louisville. I think they take a step back. They're going to be led defensively. Their best players are on the defensive side of the ball. Their edge rushers, defensive tackles, safeties, stuff like that. That's their best players at Louisville. It's not last year where Jamari Thrash and Garindo and Jahar Jordan. It's not that, man. They don't have those skill players. What they have is a good defense. And the reason I'm not too excited about that is Brom is an offensive coach. I don't think he does the most with a good defense. I think he needs better offensive players. It favors them to win more games that way. USC, Lincoln Riley needs to figure it out. From right now, from my perspective, when I look at USC, I see an improved defense. I do. I have questions about their corners. I have questions about their edge rushers. Once again, I've already assessed every single player, every single position group. There's still holes at USC. Don't like certain parts of it, but hey, they could put it together. Talking about a team that could put it together is Rutgers. Rutgers doesn't play Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State. So I think Rutgers could conceivably win 9 games. But the reason they're not in my top 25 is because I am actually assessing talent, not trying to guess the win-loss totals of teams. Let me make that very clear again. When I make a top 25, I am not here to assess talent. I'm not here to guess who's going to win the most games on the season. I'm here to tell you the most talented teams. If we had tryouts tomorrow, which teams are the best? These are the best teams. If they had to play each other, these are the teams that would win. While Rutgers is good, and they're going to win 9 games or 8 games or whatever, the reality is that's only because they don't have to play Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. All 3 teams are better than them, so they're higher on the list. That makes sense? Yes. Does that mean, Minnesota is so close to Rutgers, but Minnesota will not have as many wins as Rutgers because Minnesota plays a real schedule. Wisconsin, very comparable to Rutgers. They're going to fight to have the same record because Rutgers has an easier schedule. It's just one of those things. So I need people to keep it in perspective in that regard. We're assessing talent, or at least I am, and you're doing your thing. Before I get to the top 25, I am going to jump to the chat. So I wanted to tell you guys, if you're watching this right now on TikTok, thanks for being here. If you're on YouTube, please move over to YouTube and write a comment, a question in the comments, and I'll get to it. We read all the comments on the show. We just let them build up for a little bit. I will get to the chat here shortly. Just bear with me. Getting to Kansas State. I understand Kansas State has a good pedigree of football, great coaching staff. I don't believe in Kansas State quarterback. I don't know where everybody got so excited about Avery like that, but more power to him. I just don't see it like that. And as a matter of fact, I think Kansas State, Avery Johnson, like he's a poor man's Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne's a dual threat quarterback, and he's starting at Auburn, and he has better players around him at Auburn. So Auburn's a better team. They are. They just have better players, more talent, probably just as good a coach, maybe. Florida has a talented team, man. Tough schedule. Not going to win a lot of games. But if we're doing talent and we're looking at talented teams, Florida's right there. That's why I have them. I think they're 33rd. If you're doing the math, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. Florida's 33. That means 32 is Wisconsin. Love Wisconsin. Hope they get it together. Hope they keep winning. We'll see what they can do. But I really like Wisconsin's team. Their secondary is so special. Secondary is so much better than people think. LSU. When you lose two first-round wide receivers and you lose a Heisman Trophy quarterback, you're not going to be the same team. You're not going to be as good as you were before. And that's what people need to understand. So where was LSU at last year? They're not going to be that good this year. Just with the departure of incredible talent. Generational talent. Now, when I assess LSU, I'm telling you they have the best linebacker core in America. I literally broke my own rule. It's on a scale from 1 to 10. And I didn't care. I gave LSU an 11. I gave them an extra number. It didn't change anything. They still have terrible corner play. They still have suspect defensive tackles. I still don't necessarily know about their running back room. And nothing about them is too elite. And I even gave the offensive line a 9. And I know if you read recruiting websites, excuse me for a second here. If you read recruiting websites and that's where you get all your information, you're going to scream at me and say LSU has the best offensive line in America. Because you heard they have the best draft pick in Campbell. Like that's not how I assess talent. I assess them as a unit, and I don't see it like that at all. I see holes on that offensive line. And I say holes, it's a 9. It's not like it's terrible. I just didn't give them a 10. And when people look at position groups or look at players, they might be like, oh, Rico doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, I do. I get this right all the time. My NFL draft rankings are notorious for being amazingly accurate and identifying talent when no one else is. And I can also identify holes. And this is the problem, is like you will look at an LSU and go, they got to be better than everybody. I'm like, well, not if they had to play each other. That defense is terrible. You have some of your most talented players are on that defense, and it's terrible. One of the worst defenses in America was LSU. Sure, you hired somebody new. I got it. I'm with you. So where are you going? You were 100th in America. Now you're going to be what? Top 70? You're not moving up to top 20. You're not moving up to top 30 because you changed coaches. That's not how it works. It takes time. I don't believe in LSU. And last year I did. If you want to know how much I believed in LSU last year, I had them 4th in my preseason poll. True story. UCF. I like UCF. Not a bad spot to be in. Let's see what happens. Let's see if they can start winning games and put it all together. Kansas. Love Kansas. Here's a problem with Kansas. Offensive line is not good. Watched it again, and I was really high on Kansas, talking to the MVPs in a preseason video. Watched it again. Offensive line, not good. I would say their pass rush is in the bottom third of the Big 12. That's a problem. Their secondary is amazing. Right? Their corners are out of this world. Obviously, they have skill position players. I love Kansas, but they're missing certain trench parts. Like, let me tell you guys something. Have you ever watched two teams and you think you know the outcome of the game and then it doesn't go the way you plan? Like, you look at a team and you go, oh my God, look at that quarterback, those wide receivers, that running back. And you're like, yeah, they're going to score a bunch of points. They're going to win this game. And then you go watch the game, and the team you thought was going to win doesn't win. Does that happen to you guys a lot? I think it happens to the average fan a lot. And the reason it happens to you is because you don't know what you don't know. And what you don't know is the interior offensive line or defensive line. Like, you think your running back's going to rush for 200 yards or 100 yards, and then he goes out and only gets 30 yards. And it's because the defensive line is resetting the line of scrimmage. It's because you don't know certain aspects of these teams. You only know the star players. You only know what people are telling you. You only know what these recruiting websites are talking about. Every Twitter person showing you a picture and going, oh my God, look at so-and-so, so-and-so. Like, they don't know what they're doing. They don't. And that's why I have a platform, is because I'll look a little deeper. Shout out to me. Look at Iowa. Iowa not in my top 25. Oh, attack me. I can tell you that Iowa struggles with teams that actually have talent. They struggle with teams with skill players. They do really well against teams who are trying to do 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They do really well against them cold weather Big Ten teams who don't have any semblance of a passing attack. Iowa will have their hands full with teams like USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon. Those teams are going to show up with skill players Iowa can't cover. That's real. And we know Iowa can't score. I know. Oh, Rico, we changed our offensive coordinator. We're going to fix all this. Yeah, I know. You went from 130th in the nation to what? You're going to be top 100? I don't believe in Iowa like that. By the way, Iowa's defense, absolutely amazing on tape. Absolutely amazing on tape. But I have their offense. I'm looking at it right here. Their offensive ranking for me, Iowa's offensive line is unreal. I gave their offensive line a max score. I gave their tight end a 9 because he's coming back from injury. I know he's great. But the running back room, quarterback room, wide receiver room are not comparable to other Power 4 teams. They just aren't. And then defensively, I mean, if you believe in their corners, we'll see. But the front seven's stout. Shout out to Iowa. Not top 25. North Carolina, just on the verge. Go win some games and prove it to me. West Virginia, love you, West Virginia. And you guys know I'm a West Virginia guy. I am not a fan of any team. I am just an advocate for certain teams that use the transfer portal correctly, certain teams that figure it out, whether it be putting the right players on the field. If I see a guy that's third string and I go, hey, like last year, Utah State had a running back third string. His name was Faisal. I did an assessment on him. It's on TikTok. And I said, hey, this is the best running back at Utah State. But he's third string and they're not giving him any reps. This is weird. I think he's the best running back at Utah State. Well, here, fast forward a year later, he's the starting running back at Utah State. Yeah, Booth hit the portal. He passed up Briggs on the depth chart. He's now the starting running back at Utah State. I do this, guys. But you don't watch all the content, so you don't know what's happening. The MVPs know. The MVPs know. But you casual fans who are watching this video right now are like, man, this guy's just so full of himself, so arrogant. Bro, I'm winning. I'm getting it right for thousands of people. They're winning. So, before I get into the top 25, let's pull up the chat. I'm actually going to make a little bit of sausage right here and let you guys see something in front of me that I normally wouldn't do. But give me a second here. Pop it out. Boom, boom. He said, pop it out. What is he doing? Give me a second. I'm going to do my magic for y'all. There we go. Usually do this before the show, but dude, I'm Rico. I don't really care, right? So let's interact with this and let's roll. Excuse me for a second. It's supposed to be interacting, bro. There we go. All right, so we're on the chat. Here to talk to you guys. First person up is David in Arizona. He says, hey, Rico, what a great day. Top 25 in UFC fights tonight. Awesome day. Shout out to David in Arizona. You guys see his name is in color, meaning he's an MVP. He's a YouTube MVP. He has a badge, and he's had it for a while now. I thank you for supporting the channel and being informed. Shout out to David. He's been around for over a year now. Dave is in the live stream. So if you guys don't know what's going on, he's talking about UFC fights tonight. UFC 305, Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis, right? A real African. Anyways, the two of them are fighting. I gave out my prediction on the main event for free, but if you want to know all the other predictions, please get to Patreon and YouTube, become a member. I'm picking at 83.5% on my locks for 2024. Yeah, 83.5% over 115 fights. We get it right. Shout out to me. I just know fighting, guys. I was an MMA instructor for 20 years. I was a fighter for 10. I was an all-Army fighter. I was a level 4 hand-to-hand combat instructor. I used to be a master sensei here at a fight house, 2 years ago. I've been fighting my whole life, and if you listen to me talk about fighting, you'll know I don't miss on fights. Yes, sometimes the fighters miss. Sometimes the fighters don't get it right, but I didn't get it. I don't miss. Shout out to the MVPs. We're excited. We'll be watching the fights tonight on the Discord server. You can join me. I provide commentary, assessment, live betting analysis, and advice. But more importantly, all the videos are on Patreon right now. You should get over there. Start watching them. Take good notes. Get your bets in. Don't miss. We're 10-0 in the last 10 locks. So over the last 2 weeks. So that's pretty good too. Anyways, shout out to you, David. Thank you for being here. Armin says, good to be here, Rico. I'm so excited for the season MVPs are going to eat. Another MVP. They know what's up. Armin is an annual MVP on Patreon. So he paid for the whole year. You can do a discounted rate for the whole year. Just go to Patreon. Instead of doing the monthly rate, you just go the whole year. Say, hey, man, I'm going to get all these bets anyways. We're going to win money anyways. Let's do this. Shout out to him. Waddy Way, good to see you back, bro. I haven't seen you in a while. Shout out to Waddy. I've been seeing him lately. It's officially football season. The only reason I don't mind the cold weather coming. Hey, winter is coming. Winter is coming. That's funny, bro. Let's eat. And he's got a plate with a fork and a knife. I like to eat with my hands, bro. Eat it with your hands. A little more sanitary. And I'm going to explain. If you eat with your hands, you know the temperature of the food you're about to eat. So if you eat with your hands, you're less likely to burn your mouth. Okay? And if you're going to eat with your hands, typically you wash your hands before and after you eat. If you eat with your hands. If you're using a utensil, people don't eat. They don't wash their hands. And how many people are assisting that spoon or that fork with dirty hands? Disgusting, bro. Disgusting. I'm telling you, I once went on a date with a girl. She didn't wash her hands. I was out. She came back from the bathroom. I just reached out, wanted to shake her hand. It did not feel like she washed her hands. I said, oh, we're done here. I don't know you like that. Easy says 13 viewers, LMAO. So just so you know, I don't really stress viewers. We're at 47 right now and another 42 on there. We're at 89, but hey, your math is right. 13 works. Well, another thing about that, Easy, is this is a live stream. We post it on YouTube. You can click on the live tab and watch the rest of the live stream whenever you want. Typically, 1,000 to 2,000 views is great. I don't really care about the view count, though. I care about my accuracy. My MVPs matter. But whether you watch the video or not doesn't matter. I'd imagine Easy is probably 13 years old. I'd imagine. The only pair of breasts he's ever seen was on TV. And I'm going to tell you, Easy, in your lifetime, you won't have 13 viewers. In your lifetime. That's pretty remarkable. Tyler Zan says, Mr. Rico, in 1 week away from being uncanceled. Exactly. It's funny. They said they canceled me, and then they'll all become MVPs and come on back and watch all the videos in about a week. That's how it works. It's called fake outrage. We're over it. Shout out to Corey Flores, longtime follower. Always spreading positivity, comes to the channel. I appreciate you. Lewis Henson, day one, A1, roll tide roll, RTR, right? Lewis Henson is an Alabama fan, and I just want to appreciate him for being here. Thank you so much. Mr. Rico, what's up? This is the first video of yours that I've seen in about a month. I thought YouTube had snoozed you. Gotta love them algorithms. Yeah, man. You know, the social media platforms are funny. They will make one of your videos go viral, and they will make a video and no one will view it, things of this nature. They throttle and control the traffic. It's the Kardashian effect, right? It doesn't mean it's any good. Just because a lot of people watch something doesn't mean it's any good. It's just they're advertising and they're making people watch things. So I think if you stop stressing view counts, you can become great at your content creation. If you stop stressing view counts, you can become great at your content creation. Because people need to understand, like, I made 1,000 videos before I ever made $1. I made 1,000 videos before I ever made $1. And the reason I did that was the reason I did it is because the platforms wouldn't pay me. But more importantly, doing that prepared me for today. Prepared me for the moment when people started paying me for my answers. People started telling me, hey, Rico, do you know this or not? And I had to know the answer. 1,000 videos prepared me for that. So what I tell any content creator out there is, first you got to learn your own business model. That's on you. My business model is pretty simple. I will not be fluctuating with views because of algorithms. If you are out there trying to make a living off of AdSense, you're not going to make a living. You're not going to do this for long. But if you're fighting for sponsorship, I don't think you're going to make a living or do this for long. You can be canceled with sponsorship. You can lose sponsorship. You can gain it. It can be problematic and censor you. It can alter what you say and how you don't say it. An example would be Dan Orlovsky. He just had to delete a tweet because he said protect our daughters, and ESPN didn't agree with that tweet. If you're out here fighting for views and they throttle you, or they do a 1-month ban on you, or whatever they want to do, you will lose all your money if you get no views. That is not my business model. My business model is pretty simple, and I'm very transparent about it. MVPs. Find members. Get members, people to pay monthly, and they will stick with you, rock with you through thick and thin, highs and lows. I could change platforms tomorrow. They're going to follow me to my next platform. That is how you become uncancelable. You become your own boss. You don't need anybody else's handouts. You don't need anything. And yeah, did I leave some money on the table? Maybe. I don't know. I don't feel that way. I feel very good about what I'm doing, and all I had to do was find people who will ride or die with me. You know, last night I was watching high school football on the Discord server, Georgia high school football, with 6 MVPs. Ride or die. I know they're not going anywhere. And when we were done watching the game, it went on a weather delay at halftime. We just switched to PFL. I might as well be chilling in my living room with a bunch of my friends. We just switched to PFL and started betting on it and won our bet and got it right. That's just how it goes. I live a great life, man. I live a life the other guys couldn't imagine. I get to watch sports all day with my friends and give them my analysis and my input. It's an amazing feeling. Giving Arizona the love they deserve. Did the chat just move on me? My bad. What's good? Yep. What up, Rico? What up, Clayton Mordecai? Good to see you, bro. Giving Arizona the love they deserve, you definitely evaluate thoroughly. Go Cats, bear down. Yeah, I'm going to get to them. I believe in them entirely. FIU. Shout out to 4. FIU. Let's talk about it. FIU's really low on the chart. They really are. I'm going to double check where they're at before I say anything. FIU is currently 97th on my chart. Okay, I actually can't show you because I'm looking at the chat right now, but 97th on the chart. But what people need to understand is their defense is very good. I'm really worried about the offense, but the defense is really good. And where this is going to pay dividends is when I assessed FIU, I saw a defense full of dogs. I think they're amazing, good players. But where this is going to matter is when Vegas doesn't know how to value FIU and probably gives the wrong over-under, gives the wrong spread, and we're going to make a whole lot of money. Oh, you're telling me FIU, Indiana plays FIU week 1. Well, there you go. FIU is going to have a good defense, and people are going to think Indiana's offense sucks because FIU's got a decent defense. There you go. I'm on the under on that game. Whatever it is, we might be on the under. We'll see. We will see. Colorado has 4 NFL defensive backs. Well, this isn't true. Unorthodox. You guys are lying to yourselves. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality of the situation. So I don't know if you've ever assessed NFL defensive backs. To have 4 NFL defensive backs on your team, that means you have to go point out 4 defensive backs in the NFL they're better than. Let me rephrase that. To make it in the NFL, you have to beat out other defensive backs that are already in the NFL. There are not 4 guys at Colorado doing that. No. As a matter of fact, when you look at Colorado, you see a guy like Hodge come in from Liberty and you realize, oh my God, he wasn't that good. We assessed talent incorrectly. So you might have hit the jackpot with Travis Hunter, who couldn't get that right. That's a 5-star. But Cameron doesn't move me like that. Cameron does not move me like Cameron, an undrafted free agent at best. Okay, Shiloh. Somebody's going to draft a safety like Shiloh in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. That's fine. I don't see it like that. I don't see NFL players on that defense. Nowhere. I see a guy believing in Trevor Woods. I don't see a lot of NFL talent on that defense. Some zone corners. I actually think Travis Hunter's a third round corner. I don't even think he's a first round corner. when I look at him. I think he's a better wide receiver, but I think you got anybody writing to me like this and say you have 4 NFL DBs. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like Georgia doesn't have 4 NFL DBs. Georgia's number 1 defense last year didn't have 4 NFL DBs. Their best corner that started for 3 years with Lassiter, that's the only guy. Like, what are we doing? Why do you guys get to talk like this? Point out the last team that had 4 NFL DBs. It's the dumbest shit I ever seen, bro. You guys just go through life uninformed. It's gross. I read about some unorthodox. I saw this, man. I was on was I on Rotten Tomatoes? IMDb. What is that? What is that movie? I was on one of those movie websites, and they're saying, "What's the greatest movie of all time?" And somebody in the comments wrote Black Panther and Barbershop, and I think it was you, unorthodox. I think it was you. Fucking dumbest shit I ever seen, dude. Don't bring that shit. Rico, why do you make videos with clickbait for Colorado? I wish you uninformed people would never show up to my channel. That's gross. Shout out to the Badgers. Is it crazy to want to bet Colorado State versus Texas? I feel like they can put some numbers on the board. No, it's not necessarily crazy. I just don't know the value in it. You're talking about a quote unquote gut check, like you got a gut feeling. That's what I call a gut feeling bet, which is fine. You can do that. A gut feeling bet is like, I got a gut feeling Colorado State's gonna put up points on Texas. Like, I love Colorado State. I love Brader Fowler, Nicolosi, Torrey Horton. I love the wide receiver room. I've been invited to go to the Colorado State game. I'm with you. I've been invited to the Colorado State game by Braden Fowler, Nicolosi's father. He invited me to the game. He's got a ticket waiting for me. I'm all about Colorado State. I think they're a great team. They have some really experienced guys in the secondary, just returning back, Howell and Blackburn. But there's other places to put your money. I would tell you that when people ask me questions like that, it's MVP level data. Like, we could have that conversation offline with the MVPs. But if you watch my podcast, when I talk about the SEC or I talk about Mountain West, so the SEC is on Thursdays, Mountain West is on Fridays. When I do my podcast, I will go over every single game, and I will tell you whether or not you should make that bet or if I would make that bet. I get the logic behind it. I love Colorado State's offense. I get the logic behind it. Bama winning the chip this year, Ryan Williams is him. Okay. So, Ryan Williams is him. Is he better than Isaiah Bond? Is he better than, a number of players? Like, when's the last time Bama won the chip? Were they not winning the chip because of their wide receiver room? What are you saying? That just sounds weird. Washington didn't win the chip last year, and they had amazing wide receivers. What are you doing? They had Rome just sitting out there. That's weird. Top 25 expert analysis. Thank you so much, Connor Formia. Rico will kick. Oh, yeah, that's a fact. I leave it alone. Don't meet me. Rico's the best in the game. Leave Rico alone and let him cook. Thank you so much. I'm cooking in this kitchen. Who won last night? Milton and Buford. Willie Bobo. Milton came back. Well, they didn't have to come back, but Milton won the game. They ended up finishing it when I was done watching the PFL. One last second, I went and hit refresh, and the game was on, bro, in the fourth quarter with like 2 minutes left. I'm going to just say Buford is who we thought they were. An overly talented team with terrible coaching and don't ever get it done. So, when are you doing the rankings? These are the rankings. They're on the video. They're here on the screen. Thoughts on Utah? They're going to run the table in the Big 12. They'll be coming up. I don't give those win predictions like that, Taylor Purser. That's for MVPs. That's in a video out there, by the way. BJ Green isn't an NFL player. BJ Green is not in the secondary at all. And no, I don't think BJ Green is an NFL defensive lineman. No, he's just as good as Jordan Dominic, bro. Like, what are we doing? You updating your poll throughout the year? Of course. Of course. It will change every single week. Rico a clown, Travis Hunter, third round, this guy. Yep, third round. Yo, what up, Rico? I may not have any questions, but I'm tuned in listening. Shout out to you, Rocco Glaze. I appreciate you. All right, let's get back to the list. and we'll ignore the trolls. So now we're going to talk about the top 25. So how do I feel about the top 25? So number 25 for me is Notre Dame. I know there's guys on the internet, and they're talking about this is the best defense they've ever seen. They are so excited about Notre Dame and what they see. I want to tell you guys that I have a lot of respect for every team that I have in front of Notre Dame. So shout out to Notre Dame. Yes, secondary. One of the very best secondaries out there. I don't believe in their linebacker room. I don't believe in Notre Dame's linebacker room. Pass rush is good. It's not great. But the linebacker room, I'm just like, it's cool. I'm serious. It looked like an average linebacker room. I remember I was doing this, right? I go to alphabetical, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, they ain't any better than NC State. They're not much better than West Virginia. Linebackers? No. And I have like different criteria I look for and stuff. One thing I'll tell you, though, when I look at a team, one of the greatest things about Notre Dame's, I guess, potential this season is Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard is an NFL quarterback. He's a very good quarterback if he's healthy and if he goes out there and plays. So the potential for Riley Leonard to carry this team is there. By the way, Notre Dame's going to win 10 games. Notre Dame might win 9 or 10 games, even 11. I don't care. Talent-wise, they're not as good as the other teams. They just play an easy schedule. They just don't. They don't move me like that. If they had to play any of these teams ahead of them, I don't think they're beating a lot of these teams. So be prepared for Notre Dame to win 10 games, get to the playoffs, and get blown out. And you'll wonder why, and it's because they got their wins against Navy. Like they don't move me like that. Talent-wise, they don't move me. Their offensive line sucks. Their offensive line got even worse when their starting left tackle just went down for the whole season. Okay, so for me, Notre Dame has real problems on the offensive line. I don't like their wide receiver room. I don't. I understand Greathouse is good, but it doesn't move me like that. SMU. I see SMU. You guys are looking at me like, what is he doing? Go watch SMU, bro. SMU, one of the best tight ends in America. Shout out to RJ Maryland, Russell Maryland's son. Excuse me, I'm moving this chat box out of the way. It keeps popping up on my other screen. Russell Maryland's son, RJ Maryland. He's an NFL player right there, for sure. I don't know if he's going to get 500 yards, but I know he's going to get about 10 touchdowns. I like SMU a lot. When I would look at SMU, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to pull up the chart here. I wanted to talk to you guys about certain depth charts. So, once again, I'm not excited about this offensive line. This is Notre Dame right here. I see some upgrades here and there, but the linebacker room is just, It's not terrible. It's just, right? But if we go to SMU, bro, I know, and I'm going to talk about SMU because nobody else is. They just moved over to the ACC. When I tell you SMU and what Rhett Lashley's doing with these players is crazy. Because they look like Miami. Obviously, Joker, Romello Brinson coming over from Miami, cool. Jake Bailey, Keyshawn Smith, Roderick Daniels, Moochie Dixon, all these dudes are the same, bro. Blazing fast ass dudes. Jordan Hudson's a problem. You're not covering him. The wide receiver room at SMU is going to put up numbers. The offensive line's legit. Yes, they lost some players to the transfer portal. RJ Maryland, second to none. Preston Stone, more than serviceable. Kevin Jennings, more than serviceable. Don't like the running back room. It's not terrible. Just don't like it. I wish Wheaton would get more carries. But it's fine. Rooster. These names these guys have. Their defense is amazing. We're going to see. But Elijah Roberts is must-see TV. Ahmed Walker, Kobe Wilson, absolute studs in the linebacker room. This guy, number 12, Isaiah, I can't even say it right, bro. You guys know me in names, so I'm just going to say number 12. Turn on the tape and go watch number 12 at SMU. They got NFL players. They got NFL players. And a number of them. And the more NFL players you have, the better you are. Typically. Unless you're LSU. Shout out to SMU. I like the roster a lot. I think they're loaded. I'm letting you know. Next team, South Carolina. My God, how is everybody sleeping on South Carolina? And I know it's because they have a freshman quarterback. It's because of these results. It's because you guys think whatever. Like, listen, man. Just take a big, deep breath and listen to me. One of the greatest athletes in America is Nicholas Harbor, and he ain't even slated to start. Nick Harbor's not even starting. That dude's a monster. Because Gage Larvadain and Jared Brown are so special at wide receiver, people are going to have a problem. And they don't realize. They think South Carolina's got no offense. Rocket Sanders coming in. Oscar Attaway coming in. Those are great running backs. I'm cool with it. Jawan Howell coming in from South Carolina State. Good running back. These three all check out for me. Good. Robbie Ashford couldn't start. He came in. I don't know why his dumb ass transferred here. That's his problem. Lenoris Sellers. Goggles, Lenoris Sellers. Out here looking like Cam Newton, bro. Lenoris Sellers is him. Love it. Like it, love it. I'm over here and I'm going, yep. Oh, and by the way, the offensive line is pretty decent. It ain't last year. It ain't the year before. This team looks great to me. Joshua Simon, 7 touchdowns when he played at Western Kentucky a couple years ago. These guys look good. And then when you get to the defense, Edmond came back home. He transferred to Florida State last year, found out, okay, there's levels to this. But he's back. This defensive tackle, okay, Tonka and Alex, 95-91. So 91, Tonka will bat down passes. He's just going to put his hands up and bat down passes if he can't get there. But they are so good. It's crazy. That pass rush is great. Let me tell you how great these guys are. Let me tell you how great the South Carolina defensive line is. When you get to the film on Jules over here, who played at Pitt last year, when you get to the film on Jules, you're going to go, how the hell is he not starting? They're so deep with great defensive linemen. And a linebacker like Debo's still here. You just got the leading tackler from Charlotte. You know, I hear Colorado fans talk about how they got a great linebacker in the transfer portal and all this. Yeah, the guy on the team that actually led them in tackles was Demetrius Knight. The real leader on that defense is over here at South Carolina, second string. Bengali Kamara coming over from Pitt, stud. Oh, and then the secondary, come on, bro. This number 7 right here. Whew. And I say numbers. Let me be clear. I know all the players. I say numbers because when you watch film, you watch for numbers. I watch for jersey numbers. So I annotate all the jersey numbers and I watch film. So that's how it's done in football when you're watching film. Jalen Kilgore bringing over his older brother, Gerald, from Tennessee Tech to be his backup. Buddy Mack coming over from Pitt. These guys, man, I'm telling you, South Carolina, talent-wise, I know Shane Beamer still got to put it all together. South Carolina, for me, is a top 25 team, and I think they're better than a lot of people understand. South Carolina looks great. And I know, I sound crazy. I sound like I should not be talking about this team like that. Oh, they sound great, and they're going to win 6 games. Like, I don't care. I don't care about any of that. I'm talking about talent. South Carolina, one of the most talented teams in America. Tennessee, very good defense. But I need people to stop just every list you see online – and they say top players in America, top players in college football. Every single list has James Pierce Jr. number 1. Like, you know why they keep doing that James Pierce Jr. number 1 list? Is because they read a mock draft somewhere, and the NFL scout said James Pierce Jr. is the number 1 pick in the draft. So for the sake of trying to sound like you know football, when you go make a top 10 list or a top 25 list, you just put James Pierce number 1. Because you want to match what the talking heads in the NFL mock drafts are talking about. That's what I call parroting. That's why these people are parrots. They're puppets. They're not real. They don't know football. They just go, oh, James Pierce number 1. They never watch him play. They don't know what they're talking about. Is he a good player? Yes, he is. Is he the number 1 player in college football? Not for me. He's not even in my top 10. I understand there's NFL draft prospects. I value production. I value some other things. He's not in my top 10. I think if we had tryouts tomorrow, he wouldn't be my starting Leo. If I had tryouts for all of America, and I said, all right, give me all the outside linebackers, give me all the edge rushers, he's not my starter. He's not my starter. That's how I assess talent. Like, I look at it and I go, okay, well, who's going to win the position battle? That being said, Tennessee has Chris Brazzell, transferred in from Tulane, 6'5", mismatch issue. A good possession receiver in Brew McCoy, former Texas, USC here guy. Okay, cool. Speedster Deontay Thornton coming over from Oregon last year. They're still here. Mike Matthews, 5 stars. This is where they belong. 5 stars. This is where they belong. 3rd string. I don't want to see them in your 2 deep. There's no way some kid off the street is better than your 2 deep. You should be developing these guys and finding these players. And in 2 years, Mike Matthews should be your star. And there should be another 5-star back here who can't start for you. So the wide receiver room is very solid. Love it. Lance Hurd coming over from LSU. Congratulations. You got a young stud offensive lineman. Obviously, everybody believes in Nico. I think there's a drop-off at running back. The way Wright played last year is amazing. I think there's a drop-off at running back. Defensively, I understand the appeal. I understand the excitement. I would say that the corners, I got something in my eye. I would say that the corners, Jermon McCoy is unproven. He is coming over from Oregon State. He was one of their better corners. I'm with it. But I'm not totally sold on Tennessee's defense like that on the back end. Up front, I do have it high. I want to go back up here. I want to just double-check it. When I look at my stats here, front 7 is very comparable. I'd say defensive line is probably one of the best in America. I gave them a 9 and a 10. So I really believe in these defensive tackles and the defensive end. I do. Gave them a 9 and a 10. Pretty damn good. But on the backside, it's 5 and 6. And if you need to know what that means, when I start giving out 5s for corners and 6s for safeties, that's equivalent to like an all-conference group of 5 player. Like when I'm assessing the talent, these guys look like all-conference group of 5 players. So they look like. Competent starter in the Power 4 is a 6, 5, that range. So they're competent, but it's not what you would expect. Like it's not returning production, multi-year starters, all-conference guys. It's nothing like that. It's just kind of And then I look at certain things like height, size. Like when I'm looking at these corners on tape, I'm looking for length and maybe how they disrupt the passing lanes and things like that. And I just look at it and I just go, oh, these guys ain't it. I'm missing playmakers on the back end. And where that matters is like 3rd down conversions, throwing down the field. I think Tennessee, you're going to be able to convert on them down the field. I think there's a hole in their secondary. Their front 7, it's mean, right? Peli coming back from injury. I hope he's healthy. Carter, young stud. I hope these guys come through and get it done. I do. But that's where I have Tennessee. I understand some preseason charts might have them a lot higher. NC State, 21. I like their transfer portal class. I hope they're building something great. I think there's some departures on the defense that worry me. Obviously, they had the best player in the country last year on defense that nobody talked about. But when you look at their defensive line, Van is great. Number 1 is great. I like Red Hibbler down here. He's a great pass rusher. You see a guy like Chaz Wallace leaving Colorado, transferring out of Colorado, and you come over to NC State, you're still 2nd string. Should he have come here? Or should he have gone to somewhere like ODU, like where he came from? Something to that effect. But for the most part, defense looks pretty good. Kaufman coming back from injury. Is Kaufman from injury? Somebody's from injury. Maybe it's not Kaufman. A lot in my head. Carter, hopefully he can have that impact he thought he was going to have. But all in all, not a bad team. Don't like the hand-me-down wide receivers. Concepcion's a stud. Let's make sure he gets the rock a lot. I'm not too sold on Grimes and Noah Rogers. I watched the tape. I'm not like going crazy about it. Dakari Collins, a former Clemson wide receiver, transferred in. He's a big, tall kid. But for the most part, Justin Jolly needs to be a weapon nobody's talking about. You have Grayson McCall. And one of the best transfer running backs nobody's talking about is Jordan Waters. Leaving Duke, coming over. He's a starting caliber running back. I think he's a stud. And we know he can play in the ACC. So I like Jordan Waters. I like the team. It's why they're top 25 when other people might not have them top 25. I do. Number 20, Florida State. I like Florida State. I think people need to understand that I put Florida State at 20, and most charts have them in the top 10, and everybody's convinced they're going to win the ACC and all this. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like they remind me a lot of TCU after going to the national title game and losing 8 draft picks. Washington last year and losing all their draft picks and now what they're left with. Florida State reminds me of a similar result, just didn't make the national title game. What I mean is who Florida State was in those bowl games is who they are. Let me say that again. Who we saw in the bowl games and who we saw with no starting quarterback is who Florida State is. Now, what they did after that was try to patch up all the holes with the transfer portal, and more power to them. But I think they are terrible at assessing quarterback talent. I'm going to say that again. Terrible at assessing quarterback talent. Jordan Travis is great. You hit on him, and he got it done. But then you had 3 quarterbacks behind him that you recruited out of high school, and not a single one of them is FBS caliber or Power 4 caliber. They all transferred. Rodemaker, Duffy, and I'm forgetting one more. They all transferred. And they didn't go to Power 5 schools. You assess quarterbacks incorrectly coming out of high school. And then you have Brock Glenn, Luke Kromenhoek. I'm going to tell you, man, Luke Kromenhoek, they made him a 5-star. I watched him all his whole high school career. I never thought he was better than Luke Nichols. Luke Nichols a 3-star, and they just made him a 4-star. I don't think of him like that. I watch these players their whole lives. I think Florida State doesn't assess the quarterback room correctly. True story. Every guy they brought in from high school has never made it anywhere. They're assessing quarterbacks wrong. The rest of the room, the rest of the team, the roster, everything just kind of bugs me. One of their biggest transfer allocations that everybody talks about is Jalen Lucas from Indiana. Bro, I watched every Indiana tape there ever was. Jalen Lucas is not that. He's not like that. Oh, Rico, he's killing it in spring break. Yeah, he's killing it against his own team of people who aren't like that. Malik Benson. I told you guys last year when Malik Benson was the number 1 wide receiver in the transfer portal. Number 1 wide receiver in the JUCO ranks, going to Alabama. Rico, he's the next Randy Moss. I turned on the tape. I made a video, and I told you guys, I don't think he'll even be in the. I don't think he'll get 20 receptions. I don't think he'll be in the starting lineup. And everybody thought I was crazy, and I was 100% right. And here he is, slated to start for Florida State. Florida State wide receiver room does not move me. I'm thoroughly frustrated with this offense assessment of them. Defense studs, bro. Defense, the secondary is the real deal. I love everything about the. Let me tell you how great I love the secondary. I did a Hidden Gems video on the backup, on Conrad Hussey. I like Conrad Hussey, and he don't even start. I like the secondary. By the way, Justin Cryer, I told you guys he was an absolute stud before he jumped in the portal and left Northwestern last year. And now he's still here. I like the kid. Love Tommy Wadurje. They're deep on the defensive line. If Tommy Wadurje is third string, they're deep. That's a stud, former 4-star Kentucky, West Virginia transfer. Patrick Payton's must-see TV. Going to bat down every single pass. Got it. Don't like their offense. I don't see Florida State as dominant as others. The offensive line is great, though. Offensive line is good. I gave it a 9. Offensive line is built pretty good. I think they suck at quarterback, and I think that they're only going to go as far as he can take them. I think they win 8 games, 7, 8 games, something like that. Like, I just don't see them dominating the damn thing. That's real. I'm going to go back to the chat. Excuse me. Let's go over here. Boo, boo, boo. We are interacting with you guys. Back to the chat. Yo, what's up, Rico? I may not have any questions. Thank you so much. What do you think about Notre Dame losing their left tackle? Yeah, Connor McCall. I think it's a loss that they can't handle. I already had given them a 6 on the offensive line, which is comparable to Georgia Southern's offensive line, if I'm being real. I gave them a 6, which is not good. And then you go and lose your starting left tackle, who was already going to have to figure it out. But he's been injury prone for 4 years now, so I wasn't that shocked. But it's something that they probably can't handle. Not when Riley Leonard's durability concerns. Nope. I was an MVP last season. Put some respect on my name. Unorthodox. I appreciate you for once being an MVP. That does not mean you get to come in here and spew out Colorado nonsense. Keep it real. Dudes are okay. This guy wrote Preston Hodge as a pro. That's crazy. Cameron Silman Craig and Preston Hodge are pros. I don't agree at all. Not even a little bit. I watch Liberty play. Liberty doesn't have a pro anywhere, man. Liberty's best wide receiver can't start at LSU. We know this. He just transferred there. CJ Daniels just transferred to LSU. Can't start there. Showed up. We got a 1,400-yard receiver. No. You can't start there. Liberty's starting running back was third string at Wake Forest, bro. Cooley was third string at Wake Forest. Couldn't get on the field. He goes to Liberty. He's a 1,400-yard rusher. Bro, don't get gassed on Conference USA. Don't do that. That's a terrible premise. Darvis Harvey, you're going to embarrass yourself, bro. DJ McKinney. These dudes are calling out Oklahoma State. Don't even need the dude. One of your best players, a guy that can't start at one of the schools you got to play. Wild, bro. I'm telling you, you guys got to go watch film. That's 5. I bet you all 5 play in the NFL at least 2 seasons. You know, you don't bet me, Darvis Harvey, you don't bet me shit, bro. You don't bet me. You are writing and talking. Because in 2 seasons, your ass will be a mechanic somewhere, and we'll never hear from you again. I'll still be here giving out predictions to MVPs, making thousands of dollars for them, while you're giving out this busted ass shit. I bet you thought Xavier Worthy was getting drafted. There hasn't been an HBCU player drafted in 2 years. And then magically you think Cameron Silman Craig's going to get drafted. We know Travis Hunter and Shador are getting drafted. They weren't HBCU players. But Cameron Silman Craig was. Like, that's his caliber. He's losing playing time to Roderick Ward. Roderick Ward didn't get drafted. You're naming a bunch of dudes on your team. No team is getting their secondary drafted like this. No team. You're listing off all the players on a 4-win team, bro. Get your life together. Fuck, gross. Absolutely embarrassing, bro. I know there's people in this world that care about you. I hope they never see this video. I hope they never see this video. Holy shit. Rico, you only make videos when you talk about Colorado. I wish you dudes would never be here, bro. Back to the list. We're on Clemson. I really believe in Clemson. Believe in Clemson wholeheartedly. Quarterback sucks still till this day. Man, I need Cade Klubnik to do something, bro. I really love the players at Clemson. I got a lot of respect for their development, the talent. I'm all in on a lot of their players. But the ball goes in the hands of Cade Klubnik every single play. And I needed to get in somebody else's hands. I hope he figures it out. Watch the spring game. It looked the same shit I've seen for 2 years now. For 3 years. I think the first time I ever saw Cade Klubnik play was against Jackson Arnold, Denton Guyer High School, in a state title game, right? Westlake, Denton Guyer. This was maybe his senior year, Jackson Arnold's junior year. So I watched this happen. And I remember watching him and just going, oh, that other guy's better. Jackson Arnold's better. And everybody's telling me, oh, Cade Klubnik is the greatest I've ever seen. He's going to Clemson. I'm like, all right, bro. All right. Sucks, bro. Oh, by the way, Clemson, Florida State, we already know those 2 quarterbacks. That's why they're kind of right here, bro. That's how their team totals get about right here. We already know those 2 quarterbacks. They ain't really built like that. Now we have Utah. Utah at 18. Utah at 18, the biggest concern I have. Oh, by the way, I want to give a shout out to AB. AB just became an MVP. You guys see that green on the chat there? That's on me, bro. I apologize. You see the green there? Welcome to becoming an MVP. AB just became an MVP on YouTube. I believe AB was an MVP before, but I appreciate for him being an MVP. That's how we get it going. We need to see green every day. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the channel. Excuse me for a second here. We got to get rid of that chat box. Thank you. Back to Utah. I really like Utah. So I want to tell you, Cam Rising is him. Brant Kuthi is him. When I'm looking at my chart over here, my biggest concern with Utah is last year was abysmal, right? So you're banking on a couple guys coming back from injury and carrying the team. But when I watched them back in 2021, and I went back and watched, so to get a load of this, for Utah, I went back and watched film. I went all the way back to 2020 and watched every single game. And I have all the games saved on hard drives. I have access to every single game. That's what I do. I YouTube TV, record them in the library, ESPN Plus, keep them all saved. I have every single game I can go back and watch. YouTube is a backup to the backup to the backup. And when you go watch Utah, a lot of their domination was dependable running backs, moving the chains, and then checking down to the tight end, and then maybe, something over the top. But Utah's recipe for winning is just stout defense and minimizing mistakes. Great coaching. I think they have a good team, man. I do. I have to put them back here at 18, and it's really about talent. There's no running back room right now. I don't believe in Michael Bernard as the star running back. Congratulations to him. He's been there a long time. But I wanted Anthony Woods to be the starting running back. He got injured. It's the Idaho transfer. He's injured for the year. So I feel like they lost something there. I think they got worse in the transfer portal when it comes to wide receivers. Everybody's going to tell you they got better. They brought in Dorian Singer. No, they lost an NFL guy. They lost one NFL caliber wide receiver. They lost Mikey Matthews to Cal. I feel like those two departures, you don't backfill with, I don't know, Dorian Singer, who we now know is not who you thought he was. Dorian Singer is an all-conference wide receiver 2 years ago at Arizona, but that's because there were two other NFL wide receivers taking coverage from him. So he was getting the third best receiver. It's the JSN effect. Okay, so when he got to USC, and this is what I'm talking about, when you look at talent versus production, you can go and get 1,200 yards at Arizona. You transfer to USC, you're not even in the starting lineup because USC has better wide receivers. So while Dorian Singer was once an all-conference wide receiver and he's now transferring to Utah, if Dorian Singer becomes your best wide receiver, I already know you can't start. Like, there's not a wide receiver at Utah better than any wide receiver at USC. I already know. I've already seen it. I've seen Dorian Singer become sixth string while at USC. I've seen Mario Williams be ahead of him on the depth chart. Mario Williams is now at Tulane. So I know that if he's the best receiver at Utah, then Utah has worse wide receivers than Tulane. And they do, to be factual. Keith Brown and all these other guys are great. So my point is, like, Utah has some holes in certain skill positions, but it's Cam Rising, man, and he's tough. And I think he's a leader. So I like Utah a lot. But by the way, their front seven, Utah's front seven is, I'm going to do the math for tomorrow's show, and I'm going to try to figure out who has the best front seven in America. But on a scale, the max score you can have is a 30. Yeah, they're sitting at a 27. So they are so good in their front seven. It's better than like Louisville's. It's better than a lot of teams. And when I looked at it, I just went, whoa. I even tweeted about it. Utah's front seven is real. They really are. So that's stout. And in the Big 12, it's really important because you're running into 1,200-yard rushers everywhere. Every team in the Big 12 has a good running game, except for Colorado. Except for Colorado. Everybody else has a good running game. Everybody. BYU, LJ Martin, BYU. Houston. No, Houston has three good running backs. They really do. Well, what's his name just got injured? The transfer from West Virginia. He's done for the year, I think. So, but Cincinnati has a 1,000-yard rusher. UCF, amazing running backs. Iowa State, you just start looking at every Big 12 team, and you're like, oh, shit, Kansas State. Everybody's got a running back, except for Colorado. They just throw the ball. So you need a good front seven in the Big 12. You need a stout front seven to stop these rushing attacks. And I think Utah is built to stop them. 17 for me is Iowa State. This is on talent alone. Iowa State, love everything they're doing. Iowa State's offensive line is great. Quarterback, Rocco threw for over 3,000 yards as a freshman last year. All his receivers are back. They just picked up Eli from North Dakota State in the wide receiver room. Their secondary, I think their secondary is like, I'm gonna try to keep it in perspective. I've got their secondary equivalent to Miami, Arizona, Kentucky, and they're just one spot behind Texas. Like, for me, Iowa State secondary is special. Special. Okay? You got to turn on the tape. They return everybody. Jeremiah is amazing. Cooper. Jeremiah? Cooper? Man, what's wrong with me? I can pull it up. Excuse me for a second. When you look at, and when you think about these teams, I want to make something very clear. You got to know what Matt Campbell did with this team. So in 2022, this is a team that won one conference game. Listen to what I'm saying. They were Colorado. They won one conference game. They went 4-8, but they won one conference game in 2022. Then they hit the offseason, and they had the gambling debacle, right? The scandal where all the players were gambling, and they lose Hunter Deckers 1 month before the season starts. And I go, that's a 1-8 team in conference play, and they just lost their starting quarterback with a couple other players. Dead last in the Big 12. I don't even want to see these guys. And then the season starts. And you start seeing guys like Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel going off. This freshman quarterback beats out this behemoth of a dude. J.J. Cole is an enormous quarterback. This is just a little baller here. And Rocco Beck, man, his dad, Anthony Beck, was a starting tight end for the Jets, right? Remember when he got drafted in the first round? I look at him, or is it first or second round? But I'm saying I look at an NFL pedigree. Now, the running back room, things have gone wrong. I don't like Abu Sama personally, but this Jalen Jackson dude, woo-hoo-hoo, Eastern Michigan, so fast. That dude, blink, bro. Blink. Shit's going to be over. But when you go look at this defense and you start assessing their defense, I got to tell you how special Iowa State's defense is. Caleb Bacon is an NFL linebacker. He's the leader of this defense. I don't know what just happened. Bounced on an ad or something. Leader of the defense, NFL. And there's these guys, Purchase, Frailer, Verdon, Williams. Like, these guys are ball hawks, man. 11 men to the ball. 11 guys to the ball every single play. I'm counting it. But the guy that's special is Jeremiah Cooper. Jeremiah Cooper. See, when people tell me, like, oh, Colorado's got 4 defensive backs that are going to go pro, I'm like, have you ever sat down and looked at all the defensive backs in America and then ranked them? I have. It's what I do. It's what I do for the NFL draft. And do you want to know where all these guys rank in the Big 12? Every single one of them is ahead of a Colorado counterpart. Like, the Colorado DBs couldn't start at Iowa State. They couldn't start at Iowa State. That's how great these guys are. And that's why they went. See, there's a difference. That's why there's a team winning 4 games, and then there's a team winning 1 conference game and winning 8 or 9 games the next season. That's how it works with Iowa State. Like, if you want to talk about the teams that are down here and the teams that actually win 8, 9, 10 games, how do they win those 8, 9, or 10 games? Is they actually are what you think you are, right? You're down here with 4 wins. You thought you were good in the preseason. You thought you had pros on your team. You loved all your coaches. This is who you thought you were. Then there's a whole nother team that actually is that, and that's Iowa State. Iowa State is actually them. Like, they are actually great. And they ran into a buzzsaw and lost their bowl game because they ran into Memphis. And I already told you, Memphis can score on anybody. Memphis is a playoff team. But that's why Iowa State's there. Penn State, good team. All the way around, very good team. I respect their talent. Don't like Drew Allar, personally. Don't think he's him. When I assess tape and I assess talent, Drew Allar cannot throw the ball to receivers. I have never seen star wide receivers, teams leading receivers, transfer away from an NFL quarterback. Let me make that very clear. The leading receivers on Penn State, first and second, hit the transfer portal and left a guy who they say is an NFL quarterback. They tell me Drew Allar is a 5-star NFL quarterback, only threw 2 interceptions, all this shit. And I'm like, so why are his best receivers leaving him and going to places like Auburn? Nobody wants to play with this NFL quarterback. He doesn't look NFL to me. And I've been telling you guys this for 2 years, 3 years. Somebody's going to draft him. And then all the fans are going to go, Rico, you were wrong. Look at, he got drafted. You don't know what you're talking about. Wait till he sucks. Wait till he stinks it up. Dude is Christian Hackenberg 3.0. A&M at 15. Everything about A&M, I don't want to like them. Every time I assess them, they're killing it. They're killing. I assess them. I'm like, I don't know. The only issue they have is Connor Wegman, who I don't really care for. I think Connor Wegman's not a good quarterback. He got 5 touchdowns against New Mexico, I believe. 5 touchdowns against New Mexico. That got everybody excited because he stomped out New Mexico and ULM. Go check the box scores. ULM, New Mexico. Those are his 2 big wins, signature wins last year. And then he had a win over Auburn, and he threw for less than 100 yards. Beat Auburn 2 years ago. Devin A-Chain rushed for 250 yards in that game. And everybody talked about, oh, my God, Connor Wegman's the greatest quarterback ever. He beat out the so-and-so. Shut up, bro. I just don't believe in him like that. I hope he plays better. I hope he plays well. But the defense looks amazing. The depth on the defense looks amazing. I'm going to tell you. You know what? I'm going to pull this up so I can show you guys something. Texas A&M. So, cool with the wide receiver room. I don't think it's great. And that's just my assessment of the players. I look at Cyrus Allen, a transfer coming in from, I believe, La Tech. He didn't look great on tape. We knew La Tech. La Tech's best receiver was Smoke Harris. And before that was Trey, right? So, like, I don't believe in any of this. Like, I'm not excited about it. Looking at a guy like Jedi Walker being a starter for you, this is a kid transferring in from the GLIAC. What a great story. Division II football, GLIAC. It's a good story, bro. No. Running back room obviously had an injury. Oh, no, that's Texas. No. So running back room is very deep. I like their running back room a lot. Defensively, great defensive line. Great defensive line. Nick Scorton is him. There's no denying it. That is a stud of a pass rusher. Played at Purdue last year. Love everything about him. Cassius Howell is good. Bowling Green transfer defensive end. Another good player. So I really like their starting defensive line. Linebackers are absolutely underrated. Torian York is a professional linebacker, and it's underrated because people need to, like, give them their flowers right now while they still can. Solomon DeShields transferred in from Pitt. Love him. I love the tape on him. This secondary, bad as hell, bro. Let me explain something to you guys. When Marcus Ratcliffe and Donovan Sanders both jumped in the portal, you can go watch this. There's a live stream on this. On YouTube, click the live tab, and then scroll down to the defensive back transfer portal episodes. I do an episode on every single position group. And I'm talking about defensive backs. And I start talking about Donovan Sanders and Marcus Ratcliffe, high school teammates. Decided to jump in the transfer portal and come to A&M. And I immediately said, oh, no, these guys are not FBS caliber players. Like, these are dumb transfers. These guys are not going to come to start. They can't play at A&M. And I was just convinced they can't play. Dude, Trey Jones, Central Michigan transfer, didn't look all that great. But I knew he's better than these guys. And he's a starter. BJ Mays, transfer from UAB. Stud. Good player. There's Des Ricks. Oh, my God. All the recruiting websites. Former 5-star Rico Des Ricks hit the portal, man. He's going to start. He ain't better than a dude from UAB. Get your shit together, bro. And then there's Will Lee. I assess Will Lee, and the first thing out of my mouth is this dude's a human blanket. This dude's great. This is a great defensive back leaving Kansas State, transfers into A&M, and he's not starting? Go turn on the tape. Tyreek Chappelle is him. Texas A&M is deep on the defensive side of the ball. Deep. They better find some quarterback play. But this is scary good defense. I want to say, let me go over here and look. Texas A&M defense. I gave them an 84. It's equal to Penn State. Equal to Penn State, equal to Oregon. That's crazy, y'all. Love it. Love it. Love it. Like it. Love it. Can't ignore it. Quarterback play. Ugh, can't ignore that either. Next on the list, Virginia Tech. I know. It's the ACC. And you guys think I'm crazy. But Virginia Tech is Saxburg. Virginia Tech is going to be a problem. Virginia Tech is great. I'm letting you know now. Virginia Tech is real. And I'm calling it before the season starts and anything like that. The only hole they have is tight end. Offensive line is beast. Beast-ass offensive line. I gave it a 9. Obviously, I believe in Byshul Tutton, running back, transfer, former FCS All-American. I obviously believe in Kyron Drones after last season. I don't know about Pop Watson ever having to play. Not really sold on Malachi Thomas. We're just here, bro. We're just here. 1-2 punch. Reminds me of West Virginia when they had Pat White and Steve Slayton. Not that they're anything like Pat White and Steve Slayton. Just a duo that you look at and you go, man, them badass dudes. You cheer for them dudes every Saturday. That's kind of how I feel about Virginia Tech. You see this offensive line, it's great. And then you see these two guys and you go, man, I want them to run everywhere. Okay? Running back room. Wide receiver room. If they stay healthy, it's a very good wide receiver room. DeQuan Felton transfer from Norfolk State, FCS transfer from 2 years ago. And then Jalen Lane and Allie Jennings. Jalen Lane was the leading receiver at Middle Tennessee State 2 years ago. Allie Jennings was the leading receiver at ODU 2 years ago. You know what other receivers were at ODU at that time? Javon Harvey was there. Like they had good players. And you got leading receivers from Group of 5 schools all showing up at one wide receiver room. Now, obviously, Allie Jennings got hurt last year, but this is some dangerous shit out here, bro. And then we get to the defense, I just start laughing. Because what are you going to do when Hulkamania runs wild? What are you going to do, bro? Antoine Powell-Ryland, transfer from Florida, finally got to show what he can do on a Saturday, and it's evident. Yo, coach, you shouldn't have been playing Princely, you manly. You should have gave me the playing time. I'm a monster. And then you go get Aeneas Peebles? Are you kidding me, bro? Shout out to Duke. He's good for 4 to 5 sacks. They got some other guys that aren't even on the depth chart. You get Sam Brumfield, one of the leading tacklers coming over from Middle Tennessee State. Complete stud on tape. I love this defense. I'm looking at Virginia Tech, and I gave the defense an 80. An 80, guys, that's higher than Missouri. It's literally higher than Alabama. What? It's literally higher than Alabama on my chart. That's how I feel about Saxburg. Virginia Tech, Saxburg. They're bringing back, I think it's like 20 starters. Maybe 19. 19 starters from last year. Well, obviously the transfers aren't the starters. So 18. They're bringing back everybody, bro. This team is a problem. I'm so excited for Virginia Tech. Shout out to them. I got a lot of respect for Virginia Tech. Put them in my top 15. Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold, you're going to go as far as he can take you. I love it. How good is Oklahoma? Well, I saw them get beat in the bowl game against Arizona. They couldn't keep up. They couldn't keep pace with Arizona. Well, newsflash, I think very highly of Arizona. So you go out, you get a weapon like Deion Burks. But my bigger issue here is the offensive line is kind of Frankenstein together. Like, I know Branson Hickman's a stud. I know Fibici. If you like him, you like him. You like him. But Tarquin should not be starting. This dude, Michael Tarquin, he used to be at Florida, transferred from Florida to USC to here. He's just okay. And I see him in your starting lineup. I'm like, he's okay. Bauer Sharp, small school guy transferring in. Okay, we'll see what happens. Not really worried about it. This is a stud. Great. Keep it in great hands, right? Keep it in great hands. Nick Anderson, Deion Burks, Jackson Arnold, and Gavin Sawchuk, all NFL guys. Let's go. Defensively, I remember I was looking at Oklahoma's defense, and I gave it an 86. If you don't know, that's equivalent to Texas. I don't see any holes in Oklahoma's defense. Anywhere. Absolute stud. Shout out to Danny Stutzman. Follows the channel. Talk to him on Twitter. Know all about his dating life. But I don't see any holes on this defense. Anywhere. Love it. The fact that Des Malone isn't starting should tell you everything. Peyton Bowen not starting. Deshaun McCullough. Like, these guys are all fucking, excuse my language, studs. Absolute stud. These guys could start at Colorado. They're better than anybody at Colorado. Colorado dudes will be third string. These are absolute studs, and they're not starting. That's crazy. That's how great they are. Oklahoma's defense is real. Oklahoma was a great team last year. Just, lost the game they shouldn't have lost, and then they lost. They beat Texas, right? Shout out to we have a troll on the channel that's a Texas fan. So that's a shot at him. But yeah, Oklahoma's here. I'm gonna go back to the chat. Oh no, I'll get to the top. I'll get to 11. Oklahoma State. Let's just say, if I can describe them in one word, it's loaded. Loaded, or no, let me do this one. Grown. Oklahoma State is grown. All the receivers are monsters. You're bringing back 100 reception guys like Brennan Presley. Shout out to the Presley brothers. Somebody wrote on Twitter last night, I still don't know how Bixby took over the football world from Tulsa, from Union, and all this shit. I'm like, bro. The Presley brothers, bro. Shout out to Braylon and Brennan Presley. Braylon's at Tulsa, but Brennan's here. Do your thing, bro. He's amazing. Dalton Cooper, transferring back home after being a stud at Texas State. These guys are, the whole starting line, look at it, singers, right? The whole offensive line is better than every single player at Colorado. Like, there's not a Colorado offensive lineman that could start here. That's why you guys don't understand what you're looking at. Like, when you go, oh, my team's good, we improved. Like, it doesn't matter, dude. Like, these guys, the whole fucking thing is great. All of them. They're all amazing. Alan Bowman, people are knocking him. He threw for 3,000 yards. He's amazing. On 500 attempts. Stud running back in Ollie Gordon, obviously. But I called that last year. I predicted that last year. Remember, somebody asked me, Rico, can you please tell me about Jaden Nixon? That was the request. Can you please tell me about Jaden Nixon? I made the video on TikTok, and I said, Jaden Nixon, I don't think he's a natural running back. Looks like a track runner. Doesn't even look like a star to me. I don't think he's going to get much playing time. The star running back on this team is Ollie Gordon. And this was before the season. And then Ollie Gordon goes out and leads the country in rushing out. Everybody acts like they know about Ollie Gordon. Everybody, Jaden Nixon hit the transfer portal. He's now at Western Michigan. I was right. And I'm right about Trent Hallen. Trent Hallen is Herschel Walker. Trent Hallen is 6'3", 240 pounds. Should have been the starting running back at Indiana. But with the new coaching staff, decided to leave and go somewhere else. Trent Hallen is the reason Indiana started winning games towards the end of the season. He's the reason they were competitive in games, because he can move the chains. He's a great running back. That 1-2 punch is a problem. CC, I don't think he's really caliber of Oklahoma State. Good young kid. Actually got to play last year due to injuries and stuff, but I don't think he should be here. Remember, their leading rusher before Ollie Gordon was Dominic Richardson, who's now the leading rusher at Baylor. So their depth chart should have had Dominic Richardson in here, and this kid should never be in the field. So I think they're going to probably find somebody else, and he'll never be a starting running back at Oklahoma State. True story. I think that they need higher caliber running backs. Another thing that Oklahoma State has that nobody's talking about is an amazing coach. Like, they have a really good coach who knows what he's doing, and he gets the most out of his players, so I really believe in that. If you've ever looked at linebacker rooms, the second best linebacker room in America outside of LSU is Oklahoma State. They're the second best linebacker room in America. I'm going to say it again. Nick Martin is an NFL, I would take him. Well, they don't take linebackers in the first round, so second round draft pick. Nick Martin is the best linebacker on tape I've seen. He's so athletic. I watched him run down a wide receiver, and I always forget the name. Whoa, it was Xavier Worthy. Watch them run down Xavier Worthy from behind, and he's a linebacker. Go figure. Colin Oliver, stud player. And then Justin Wright, he just looks like a grown man amongst boys. Justin Wright used to be the leading tackler at Tulsa, used to be a team captain at Tulsa, transferred to Oklahoma State last year, got injured, didn't play at all. So here he is. He's going to get to play this year. These are the best linebackers. I mean, on tape, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, they're amazing. Team's great. Team's good top to bottom. Oklahoma State, one of my favorite teams in the Big 12. So, no mystery that they made it in the top 12. And then number 11, Kentucky. And I know everybody's going to attack me about it, but I'm telling you that Kentucky is great. And there's just no way I can ignore how great they are. Kentucky has NFL wide receivers. They really do. Now, I don't like the Fred Farrier move over from FAU. He doesn't feel real. But these three right here, Jamori Macklin, his cousin, right? Kyle coming in from North Texas, used to be a Missouri wide receiver. Barian Brown is one of the best wide receivers in America. We're having tryouts tomorrow. Barian Brown will beat you out. Fastest player at wide receiver with the ball in his hand, whatever. Barian Brown is the best. So Barian Brown, Dane Key, they've been starting since freshman. So you got guys in their third year starting. This is when they're supposed to be great. This is going to happen. Third year starting in the SEC. Yeah, get the ball to Barian Brown. Guess who can get the ball to him? Brock Vandagriff, man. Brock Vandagriff. BVG not being able to play at Georgia, no shade. Carson Beck's the starter, fine. But he was noticeably better than, they said he was better than Gunnar Stockton. So anytime you're better than Gunnar Stockton, I appreciate you. I respect you because Gunnar Stockton is the man. But I watched Brock Vandagriff play in high school, and he reminded me so much of any dual threat quarterback. He's a monster. He can run, extend the plays, Josh Allen type. But one thing he does really well is his ball placement. You think you're going to get a pick, and you're not. If you're a DB and you undercut the route because you think you're going to pick it off, you're wrong. If you're driving back to the quarterback and you think you're going to get this pick, you're not. He just places it just out of reach, bro. You ever seen somebody play like pool, billiards pool? They're playing with the pool, and they can just put the ball in places you can't imagine. And they can hit one ball in a pocket, and then it moves over here, and it just strategically lands in a different spot. The ball placement, it's incredible. And I think Brock Vandagriff is elite in that regard. So I have a lot of faith in Brock Vandagriff and his connection with Barian Brown, Dane Key, and Jamori Macklin. Because the running back room just got hurt. Not even worried about it. Demi Sumo was a good running back. I'm not too worried about any of this. I'm just telling you, you got a quarterback who can actually extend plays and get it out to these NFL wide receivers. And you have an amazing offensive line. Like, you have a good offensive line. Their defense is going to keep them in games. Their defense is elite everywhere. I've assessed all the talent. Listen, I think Deion Walker is the best defensive tackle in college football, period. Like, he's the best one for me on tape. That's the number one defensive tackle in college football. So that's a top 10 draft pick. Keshawn Silver, former 5-star, transferred in from North Carolina. I don't know how you get better than him. Those front two. And then you have Rebecca, Weaver. I understand. Some people might be worried about him. I'm not. I think they're studs. Okay? The running back, the linebacker room, I'm sorry. Jamin Dumas Johnson was a starting linebacker the last 2 years at Georgia. So this is Georgia's starting middle linebacker, or will linebacker, for the last 2 years. And he transfers to Kentucky. And you want me to be concerned that Georgia has better linebackers? No, they don't. Kentucky has better linebackers than you. There's your starter. And I'm telling you, Derek Jackson is a problem. These are NFL. These are great players. The secondary gave up a ton of passing yards last year. Oh, blah, 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 blah. When I sit down and I assess them individually, talent-wise, yeah, there's nobody better. There's only one defense I feel is better than this defense. One, and it's Ohio State. I really, really like Kentucky. Watch them go out and win 7 games. And everybody tells me I don't know what I'm talking about. Listen, if Kentucky wins 7 games, you need to fire Stoops. Because he's doing less with more. Listen to what I'm saying. And I know a lot of people swear Stoops is a great coach and he gets the most out of his players. But if he doesn't win more than 8 games, 8 or more games with this team, I think he's a terrible coach because they're the best talent. That's one of the best talented defenses I've seen. I sat down, watched the tape, and went, oh my God. Like, this is crazy. Remember, I'm going alphabetical. Just got done looking at Kansas State. I'm like, holy shit. Kentucky's this good? Yep. Before I get to the top 10, I'll jump back to the chat. Give me a second here. We're back in here. It says, Arizona defensive back smoke Colorado's. Yeah. Scott McCormick, it's not even a debate, right? Like, people don't understand. If you look at the Big 12 secondaries, the Colorado defensive backs can't start at 9 or 10 of the schools. So, like, they're just out of touch with reality. They just watch their own team, and they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even know what they're talking about. It's utter ignorance. LJ Martin's a good workhorse back. Yes, he is. Shout out to you, RicoKnows. Jay Coop is something serious. The GOAT, Jeremiah Cooper's the real deal. Rico's right. Utah nearly always hurting for wide receivers. We'll see if Rising and Kuthi can compensate. Love Bernard, but you're right. He ain't him. Yeah, so Taylor Purser, I have to say something disparaging about a team. I don't think that the player sucks. You just got to keep it into perspective. Keep it into perspective, right? Utah will have an NFL receiver every 10 years or so, like every 5 years, something like that. Dude, they got tight ends galore. I remember when Kuthi led them in receiving in 2021. Yeah, the backup tight end was Dalton Kincaid, an NFL second-round draft pick. And he was the backup. So Kuthi's amazing. We'll see if he can get back there. Group of 5 Glazer. Love this guy. This is crazy. That's cap. Rico, do you only watch highlight reels? No, all 22. So pay Sean. When you watch 134 teams, you do not go and watch highlight reels. Highlight reels don't exist for certain players that I'm assessing here. So what's the highlight reel on offensive linemen? That's not a thing. So now we can talk about all 22 film. And the go-to thing to do to try to discredit somebody is say, do you watch all 22 film? Because I know a guy. Let me tell you, there is no all 22 film for every single college football team. Not that they're sharing, not that they're giving out. And the reason for that is college football players are, let's use the word. College football players are considered amateurs, so they don't give out all 22 film because they make a ton of mistakes and they don't want them ridiculed. You can find all 22 film for the NFL is like $10. You can get a membership on NFL.com or some shit like that, and you can see all the all-22 film. But when it's time to do college football assessments, what you'll see for all-22 film is certain prospects. Certain prospects will get on Caddy's cut-ups or some other profile, and you can go somewhere, and you can go and get an all-22 on a particular player who's an NFL draft pick. That doesn't do me any good when it's time for college football assessments in the preseason before the season starts. So what I look at is a holistic view on every single player. So you mention a player, I will go back and look at their high school film. I will go back and look at their huddle tapes. I will look at the games they played, the games they played against. I will try to find all the film I can of them on TV. Sure. Now, someone might say, well, you need all 22 film. Do you really? If you're watching a running back, you don't necessarily need to see the defensive backs. You need to see the running back and the whole develop. Now, when you're looking at a quarterback, you can look at the results. You can look at what he read before the play. Sometimes you'll get a replay of a really good play. You'll get a replay or a really bad play. And you can watch the replay and see what occurred. What people need to understand is, how long is all 22 film? Like the infamous all 22 film you guys are mentioning doesn't actually exist, but how long is it? Because it doesn't matter who got the all 22 film from one game. Coaches aren't even sharing it, but who got it? How much did you watch of that player? You might have watched 40 plays, 50 plays. If you're lucky, 40 plays. When I can sit here and tell you every play of that player's career, there's a huge difference. Another thing I'll say is if you're watching the tape, you got to know what you're looking for. You got to know what you're watching. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. There are people that can watch the same piece of film 100 times and not know what they're seeing and have no clue what they're doing. I break down film. I don't think I break down film for MVPs all that often. Just because of copyright concerns. But the channels who sit here and watch film, right? They'll go, oh, I got the clips. Look what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you my clips. They are typically fans of one team, and they will watch film on one team's players. So then they will say and talk from a level of quote-unquote expertise of that one particular team. Their fandom of their one team. I watch 134 teams. So when you tell me how great your secondary is, I just kind of laugh it off because I've literally seen 23 better secondaries. Or I could actually sort it and tell you how many I've seen better. And that's the difference between me and all those other guys. Look, the NFL draft's going to come, and anybody talking about the NFL draft will talk to you about the first round mock draft. They'll talk to you about all the players from your team that are draft eligible, your favorite team. Oh my God, we got 5 DBs here and all this shit. Let me tell you, I will sit down, and the NFL Draft Podcast exists. It's on YouTube. Go watch my NFL Draft Rankings podcast, and I literally talk about 300 different players. ESPN only has 250 listed. So if you want surface level information, if you want to look at some shit and feel good about your team, keep with the sources of information you have. But don't come to me and try to marginalize what I do. I do something that all your fandom couldn't do in a million years. Like, I do something those guys couldn't do in the reason they don't have the information I have is they don't do this for a living. Every channel you're a fan of, every platform you're watching and you think they're informing you about your favorite team, they're posting videos at the end of the day because they have a day job that they have to know and do. This is my day job. This is my full-time job. I'm not doing this out of a hobby. I'm not kicking it. I have to be accurate for MVPs. If I was wrong, I would lose my members. I would lose my paying members if I was wrong. So when you watch all these other platforms and they start to pivot to sports gambling and they try to create Patreons and try to do all these things to do what I do for a living, it's just a money grab. It's just a money grab. You call Travis Hunter a third-round pick. Correct, Payshawn. Because I've assessed every draft pick for the last 20 years, and when I look at his skill set, he reminds me of a third-round corner. Now, go look at third-round corners. Go look at their size, their production. Go look at their speed. Travis Hunter is a 4.55 40. He's a zone corner who can't play man. That's a third-round pick to me. Now, you can value him however you want. You can listen to Coach Prime. You can listen to Talking Heads on TV. All you want. But when the dust settles and his accolades and his production is that of a third rounder, like, I'll give you an example. Everybody in here, all they ever do is brag about Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush. So he was the second overall pick. Reggie Bush was the second overall pick. Couldn't run between the tackles. Wasn't a complete running back. We knew this because they were giving carries to Lindell White. Because Lindell White actually led the team in touchdowns. But let these people tell you the stories about Reggie Bush and how amazing he was because of the highlights. But when you watch that team in its actual application of talent, Reggie Bush was not used in the red zone. They would rather throw a fade to Big Mike Williams or hand it off to Lindell White. So whoever drafted Reggie Bush second overall probably lost their job. And as I'm sitting here telling you, Reggie Bush is a third-round running back. He's never going to do more than 1,000 yards. That's why you guys are who you are. Because I'm going to be right 10 years from now and still have a platform. This man says, T-Cal has fried you, bro. It's apparent you guys are fans of Homer pages, but we will not allow that type of conduct in here. So saying anybody fried me, it's laughable. I wish you well. So yes, you can get it wrong. Let's be clear. This gentleman's in here saying I said somebody was a bust. I don't think I ever did, but we'll talk about it. I believe I had C.J. Stroud third on my quarterbacks list. Third. The world had him at 2. I had him at 3. The world missed by 1. I missed by 1. Like, that's what it is. I missed by 2. Check pre-draft rankings. They had him where they had him. Let me explain something to you guys. When you come to a channel and you want to try to prove that somebody doesn't know what they're talking about, what you'll do is, like in the sports world, you'll say, oh, this guy said this and he missed. So if you miss in one aspect of the world, does that mean you don't know what you're talking about? No. If that was the case, then everybody talking would have to be right 100% of the time, and no one is. That is not the barometer for success, right? What I would say to you is the way you do this for a living is you have to impart knowledge on people more than they knew. Like before this episode started, I was talking about the top 25 teams in America. I want you to think about how much you knew about the top 25. And then I want you to think about how much you learned during the show. That's what makes me relevant. So when you come in here and you start popping off about Colorado and you do all this, you literally don't teach me anything. I've learned nothing from you. And that's what makes you not relevant, is you're not teaching me anything in a conversation. The first person to lose in a debate is somebody who learned something. And if you're ever trying to debate sports with me, you're going to learn something. I am not going to learn anything from you. Because whatever you're about to quote is out there. I already obtained it. I already retained it and applied it. Once again, you guys are hobbyists. You're doing this for a hobby. I do this for a living. So, anybody who says that's just wild. Connor Formula, I'd rather not talk about individuals who are just fans of pages, right? This individual said Colorado winning 9 games would be a disappointment. Those people just don't know what they're viewing, like on tape, or what they're seeing. I think Colorado winning 6 games is a success. 6 games is their ceiling. Fresco Live, you obviously aren't an MVP. And you guys are all pent up and upset about things. It's pretty simple, man. I assess talent. I assess teams. If Colorado has a winning season, what am I going to say? I'm going to say I was wrong about some other teams, because then it's apparent they beat other teams they weren't supposed to beat. I don't see Colorado winning 7 or more games. See them right around 6, maybe 7, but 6 sounds right. So if they win more than 6, that would mean other teams failed. Please understand that. You guys are all under this impression that I think Colorado sucks. I don't think they suck. I have them listed down here. They're literally ahead of Memphis, who I think is a playoff team. They're literally ahead of Indiana and Nebraska. They're on my chart. You guys are just have inflated what you see, and it's crazy. We're not grown men talking. I'm on my platform. You're watching. Please understand that, Frisco Live. This is not a two-way conversation. I'm on my platform. I'm informing the public, and you're watching. Consume, bro. Consume. And it's unfortunate you'll have to do it in the dark. That's just the way it goes. We don't allow trolls on this channel. You was the same person saying Colorado's O-line was decent before the season started. Yeah, they were, Kai. I believe if you ever watched my video, what I said was, and I quote, go back and watch it. Colorado's offensive line today is pretty good if it's healthy, injury-free, and they're going against a 3-man front. You got to remember, I made that video before the TCU game. TCU's defense is a 3-3-5 front. Maybe you didn't know the scheme. So I knew that those 5 guys healthy would do well against a 3-3-5 front. That video is a snapshot in time of what my assessment was at that moment in time against that defense. 2 weeks later, they have injuries. They're going up against a different defensive front, and you want to try to apply that logic to that video. It doesn't work. That's why there's a top 25 that changes every week. That's why rankings change every week or predictions change. You guys don't understand. If you ask me how are they going to do against this particular team, and you say they're going to lose by 30, I say no, they're not. They're going to dominate that team. That team only has 3 defensive linemen, and they're all healthy right now. 2 weeks later, I'm saying, yo, guys, we don't bet on Colorado. 2 weeks later. You're forgetting I predict they'd win 4 games. I got that right too. I didn't miss anywhere. You guys are just under the impression, like this guy just wrote, you're on this hate train. Bro, I'm on this accuracy train. I'm on this train of being accurate. And I haven't fucking missed. That's what makes me great. You are a fan. You thought they would win 6 games last year. You were wrong. You think they're going to win 9 this year. You're wrong. You're just a fan, bro. Go be a fan. Don't try to change my assessment process. Have you ever watched me work? I'm in here fucking 20 hours a day grinding. To have a fan walk up and go, "Nah, man, I saw practice tape. They look amazing, cuz." You guys sound utterly ignorant. Somebody out here is assessing talent of all 134 teams, and you're sitting around watching your 5 favorite players. You're like, "Yo, we could do this." You ever been in your park somewhere? You ever been in your neighborhood and you think you got the best 5? You're like, "Yo, we got the best 5. Look at us, man. We've been winning in this neighborhood forever. We got the best 5. Fucking drive over one city, bro. You can't get on the court. You got next. You're standing off on the side with your own ball, being told you got next, bro. And you might have to pick up that girl to get on the court because she had next before you. Ridiculous. Rico isn't a Colorado hater. I'm not. It's crazy. We'll get off this and we'll get back to the chart. The Colorado fans are just sitting here just seething, bro. They're just seething at the mouth. They're like, "Oh my God, oh my God." Dude, I won't see any of you guys come November. November, Colorado's not winning a single game in November. It'll be the coldest fucking month of their life. Colorado not winning a game. Coach Prime will be like this. And it doesn't matter. It's not that they lost in November. They lost in the offseason. They lost when they went to go get offensive linemen, and they went to fucking UConn, Houston, UTEP. This is where they thought they were going to find their answers. On substandard teams, and then magically paint it up and go, "These are the best players." Bro, Oklahoma State returns every single starting offensive lineman that was just in the conference championship game. A game you couldn't go to unless you had tickets. "We got info players. We got info." Shut up. Yeah, you never fucking once watched an entire draft beyond the first round. You guys sit there, just watch ESPN all day. Play EA Sports. You got a video game gassed you, bro. A video game taught you your knowledge of football. "Hey, bro, right here, look at that. He got 99 speed. Yeah, I know he got 60 awareness, but don't worry about that." Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Fucking embarrassing. It's crazy, Jacob Sparks. It's wild. It's wild. I could sit here and talk about these teams, and if I talked about every single player on these rosters, I guarantee you, every one of those haters doesn't know any of the players I'm talking about. They don't even know what they're watching. They don't even know that these are the guys who got the book and couldn't read it. And whatever they read, they didn't retain. That's the worst part about it. You ever read a whole page, you're just going through the words, blah, 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 and you get done with the page, and you're like, "Man, what was that about?" I don't got a fucking clue, man. That's you guys watching football. That's you guys watching football. It's crazy. I'm talking about every other team in America, and I keep pointing out teams with NFL players, with the best people I saw on tape, because I did tape review for the last 8 months now. I keep telling you all the best players, and you guys don't even know who the fuck they are. You're learning, but you're not, because you don't want to learn. It's the same narrative like last year. I think it's a little different. Let me explain to you guys something. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, just so everybody understands. To be successful in college football at the highest echelon, you need a returning offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach, and starting quarterback. Those are the elite teams. The level of continuity that those teams have is amazing. When you see a returning offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, quarterback, and head coach. You might think you have a really talented team, but you're not going to get over the hump if you don't have those 4. I'll give you an example. Georgia last year didn't have those 4. They didn't get over the hump. They did not have those 4. It's a fact. Michigan did. If you want to win the national title, if you want to win your conference title, you need 3 out of the 4 at a minimum. 3 out of the 4. This is over the last 25 years. It's a success ratio, a continuity ratio. You wouldn't know this because you don't study other teams. You wouldn't know this because you don't try to assess results from an outside-the-box way of thinking. Now let's go talk about some teams that have continuity. Oh, I saw that last question. You said Colorado prediction this year, improvements are the same. So if you want to know my predictions on Colorado, that is on Patreon. MVPs, no. I've already given my assessment on the whole season. I will not give assessments on any team for free. People gamble on my assessments. They make a lot of money off of it, and that's why we sell it. So go to Patreon, go to YouTube, become a member. You can watch the videos. They've been there. It's under the win totals playlist. It's been there for 8 months. I made my prediction on Colorado probably back in April. So you can go back and watch it. That being said, Missouri's number 10. Missouri, absolutely loaded. The only issue, and there's no real issue with Missouri. I think Missouri is a top 10 team talent-wise. I think they're in the playoffs. I think Missouri is one of the top SEC teams. I understand there's some concern about their linebackers, their corners, but nah. Like Missouri, if they can find a way to scheme their wide receivers open, they're gonna be just fine. They return all 6 of their leading wide receivers, the whole wide receiver room. They address their running back departures with really good ones. Their offensive line is elite. I told you guys last year, this is crazy though. I made a video on TikTok last year and I told you guys Brady Cook is him. And everybody attacked me and said he wasn't any good. Then he goes out and has the season that he had. So I knew how good, and I still believe in Brady Cook. But the real strength of this team is the wide receiver room. Everybody's back. Their top 6 wide receivers are all back from last year. Obviously, NFL wide receivers, 2 of them. I would say the offensive line is the best in the SEC. I think it's right up there. They are the lowest. No, Iowa's the lowest rated 10 offensive line. This is the second lowest. So they have a 10 on the offensive line, but then there's other issues they have to address. But for me, man, like they just had an injury at pass rushing. It doesn't matter. They have defensive ends that are out of this world. Like Darius Smith just got injured, transfer from Georgia. He's done for the year. I don't care. Eddie Kelly's great. Zion Young, Johnny Walker, all these guys are amazing. Only concern are the linebackers. They've been around for a while. They're just not superstars. Corey Flagg transferring in. This is a 3-year starter from Miami. Kind of limited athletically, but he's still good. Torian Pride. Been starting since his freshman year at Clemson. So I like Torian Pride a lot. Toriano Pride, I'm sorry. Stud. I'll say this. Dalen Carnell is a friend of the channel. He reached out to me last year before the season started, and he tried to tell me how great the team was. And remember, I assess these teams, and then the players reach out to me, and they'll be like, hey, Rico, I think you got this wrong. I think you got this wrong. And I told him last year I thought Missouri was going to win 4 games. And he said, no, we're really good. We're really good. And obviously they went and played amazing. I'm not sleeping on them this year. I think Missouri's great. So I like Missouri to win at least 10 games. I like Missouri to be in the playoffs. I really, really like Missouri. Next is Alabama. You know the deal. Everybody believes in Alabama. They're got a great pedigree, good coaching staff, kind of kept it together. What I would say is you lose defensive backs that I really believe in, and you replace them with guys I don't believe in. So, and that's just the reality of the situation. I'm looking at corners starting at Alabama that couldn't start at other schools. So you got talented kids starting there, players, 5 stars, former 4 or 5 stars, all this stuff. But what I saw in departing from Alabama in the transfer portal and in the draft, I don't know how you backfill that with these marginal guys. So I think Alabama's going to give up some big plays when they don't want to. Their corners are going to be a problem. So I actually gave the corners a 5 on a scale from 1 to 10, a 5, which is bad. Like that's group of 5 level. I really feel that way. I think they have some of the worst starting corners of anybody in the top 25. Alabama, for sure. So that's the problem there. Michigan, only problem I see is Alex Orji. Alex Orji leaves me underwhelmed. Wide receiver room isn't great. It's good, but it's not great. Alex Orji's not good. Or at least unproven. I'll say that. Unproven. Among all these teams up here, like if you look above Michigan, you're just going to see a who's who of quarterbacks, or in Ohio State's case, an entire team, but a who's who of quarterbacks. Michigan somehow gets up here, and it's because their defense is stout. Defense looks great. NFL players everywhere, but I put them at 8. 7 is Miami, and I know a lot of people don't understand the hype behind Miami, but the reality is Mario Cristobal has put together one hell of a team. I turn on the tape, talent-wise, Miami is the bee's knees. Quarterback, running back, wide receivers, those 3. They are in the top 10 in America in those 3 alone. Like, I give them full 10s on those, like right off rip. Tight ends unproven. That's the only reason they're this far down. Offensive line is a 9. It's pretty damn good. Studs everywhere. Defensively, we learned there's levels to this, and I'll explain this to you guys. Their defense is okay, but their pass rush is elite. And when you have an elite pass rush, shout out to Bain, like what it does is it makes bad passes turn into interceptions, right? It shuts that clock down on that other quarterback, and he doesn't have as much time to find his open receivers. I really like Miami's pass rush a lot. So shout out to them. Arizona's a top 10 team last year. Like, I don't know what anybody's doing. I'm the only one over here going, I'm like, yo, guys, Arizona's amazing. What are we doing? What are we doing? Arizona has a concern at defensive tackle. Got it. Defensive end a little bit. Not really. Not even defensive end. Just defensive tackle. Arizona has a new head coach. Cool. Bro, they lost by 7 points to Washington, the national championship runner-up. They lost in triple overtime, double overtime to USC, and then they didn't lose again. They finished the season like on a 7-8 game win streak, and they blew out Oklahoma, who we know is extremely talented. I don't know what we're doing. Like, Arizona to me was a top 10 team at the end of the season. Arizona and Ole Miss are one and the same to me. They got ballers. Ballers. Baller alert. And I know Arizona didn't win games at the beginning of the season because they were starting Jaden Delara at quarterback, not Noah Fafita. But I'm telling you guys, I got Noah Fafita, T-Mac, Romello coming in from ODU. Like, there's a whole team here to talk about. But defensively, absolute monsters on the defensive side of the ball. Really, turn on the tape. I love Arizona. They're my favorite team in the Big 12. They are. They were the 3rd best team in the Pac-12. There was Washington, Oregon, and Arizona. Washington lost everybody. Oregon and Arizona brought everybody back. What are we doing? Why is Arizona not in people's top 10? What am I missing? I'm not missing anything. I know I'm right. I'm on Arizona all day, every day. Arizona. Beast. Ole Miss, got to respect it. Hope Lane Kiffin finally wins a big game. Big game meaning some of those rivalry games. But Ole Miss is undoubtedly one of the very best teams in America. They have a lot of talent. So I really respect Ole Miss. They are inconsistent at times, but let's go get it done. I believe in Ole Miss. Texas, the injury bug's biting them, but it's not going to matter. They're loaded. They have really good players. A lot of depth. I have Texas at 4, and it feels like they're going to be relevant for a while to go. Hey, shout out to Sarkisian. Great coach. Oregon, it's your year, bro. Oregon, it's your year. Go put the cape on. It's Oregon's year. The schedule's tough, but I love Oregon. They're built top to bottom. Oregon actually, and it's going to sound crazy, I gave them perfect 10s on offense. Listen, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, perfect 10s. At running back, I gave them an 8. And I know they have good running backs. It's just somewhere out there you got to just be realistic about what you're comparing them to, right? Quinshon Judkins is the golden standard for running backs. So him and Ollie Gordon. So when I think of how good are you, I had to go give him an 8. But Oregon is loaded, bro. Oregon is absolutely loaded. Love them. Ohio State, I called it. I said they're going to win the national title. I said it like in February. I don't know. I mean, I said they're going to win the national title. Will Howard's fine. It's all about defense. I believe in their defense, and I believe in what they're doing. I think they have a great pedigree of players. Their offensive line is elite. I'm cool with Ohio State, man. Georgia, number one team, talent-wise, when I watch them on tape. Mikael Williams, best player in the country, talent-wise. Defensive end, by the way. Rico, you got any all 22 on him? You got any, bro, motherfucker? Shut up. Watched him every day. Been watching him since high school. Best player in the country. So that's my top 25. I'm going to go to the chat one last time and then we'll end the show. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. Sorry for making it so long, but I do appreciate you guys for being here. So we'll go and we'll jump on the chat. Oklahoma State is the same team that got shitted on by UCF and the same team that got shitted on by Texas. Oklahoma State wasn't shit at the end of the year. So, Kai Finesse, thank you for your input. I appreciate you. I have these discussions all the time. I realize they are Colorado fans because of Deion, not football fans. Correct, JB. Correct. It's called blind allegiance. It's all good, bro. They're still with the same girl they dated in high school, too. Unconditional love, bro. Unconditional love. Rico, are there any position groups that Missouri has an advantage over Georgia? Do you think Brady Cook is a top 2 SEC quarterback this year? No, I don't think Brady Cook is a top 2 SEC quarterback because Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Brock. I'm back. I'm sorry. No, he's not a top 2 quarterback in the SEC, and I don't think he ever will be. I'm not going there. As far as position groups that Missouri has better than Georgia, that's a daunting task. Let me pull up the chart and I can show you what I think. Let me do this. So if we're looking at Missouri better than Georgia, Georgia's up here. I believe Missouri wide receivers are better than Georgia's, slightly. It's marginal. And I believe the offensive lines are equivalent. Okay. And the safeties are equivalent. Outside of that, I got nothing for you. And shout out to them. Yeah, Georgia's very good. That's not a team you want to compare yourself to. I don't think at all. What about the Heisman this year? Shout out to you, Dingle. The Heisman this year. So I've already made that video. It's been made multiple times. I made it early on in the offseason. I made it again a little later. It's on Patreon. It's not free. It's for the MVPs because you can go bet on who you think is going to win the Heisman. That video exists. It's out there. So that's how that goes. Please go be an MVP and you will learn who's going to win the Heisman. Go bet your money and make your money. I love Miami in the ACC this year. Cam Ward is a dude. Yes, Cam Ward is amazing. So Cam Ward is him. Patterson, too, going to surprise. He's going to have to. Patterson's going to have to surprise. Rico, have you already talked about your best of the rest? I'm interested to know if you feel like Florida has some good talent and depth this year. Okay, Mr. Mike and Ike, I already did. I started off the show with the best of the rest, but I went over Florida very briefly. And the deal is I'm going to do a deep dive on every single team every single week during the football season. You guys know this. If you don't know the schedule for the podcast, Mondays are the ACC and Conference USA. Tuesdays are the Big Ten and the MAC. Wednesdays are the Big 12 and the American. Thursdays are the Sun Belt and SEC, and then Fridays is the Mountain West. And when I talk about all these teams and these conferences, I talk about individually how I feel about the teams, talent-wise, depth-wise, whatever, right? So what I'll tell you about Florida is if you see Florida down there under the best of the rest, I'm not predicting how many games Florida's going to win. I'm just telling you that talent-wise, this is where Florida ranks, 33rd in the country. I think Florida's very talented. 33rd in the country is very respectable. That's top 25%, right? So, like, I really, really like Florida's talent. It's cool. Graham Mertz needs to play out of his mind again. Receivers look good. Eugene Wilson III. Trey Wilson looks great. Defensively, we'll see what Pup can do. He just came in the transfer portal from South Carolina. There's just some holes here and there they got to find out and figure out. But I don't know, man. I feel like Florida's a talented team. They're much more talented than their record, but I don't think that it's something where they need to be ranked top 25. They'll be here in the preseason poll, and we probably won't see them again, just so we're clear. All these Colorado fans make me sick. They shouldn't make you sick. Just let it go, bro. Colorado would be better off if they had an ex-Utah State head coach just got let go. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of coaches better than Coach Prime. I mean, that's a fact. He just stands there. He doesn't coach anything. Dara will be the best quarterback in the SEC this year. It's going to be tough. Continuity in the offense. Milroe won't have that. Beck lost a lot in Bowers and McConkey. Yeah, I totally agree. So Jackson Dart and Quinn Ewers are the two quarterbacks in the SEC that I think have the most continuity. I also think that Jackson Arnold's going to have a chance to be extremely special. So I don't want to knock him. And same with Lenora Sellers. So it's just there's really good players. There's really good players everywhere. I won't knock it. I know that Florida has continuity in the offensive scheme as well. So there's that. Hey, guys, thanks for being here for the preseason top 25. I understand not everybody agrees, but this is what I have. This is what I've done. I trust my analysis. This will help me in my gambling and my assessment. Remember, I'm evaluating talent versus talent, not records versus records, not predicting who's going to finish anywhere. I do my assessments a little different. Is your team better than this team on a given Saturday is what I have to make my predictions on, and I tend to get those right. Everybody else gets it wrong. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate everybody. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.